Well, I am the only king. That is true.
It's very, very true.
The only one, I reckon. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm well. Unlike the entirety of the British, I suppose.
It's all very farcical, really, at the moment, isn't it?
It is genuinely worrying, is what it is. Yes, it's actually quite worrying. Yeah. We're going to be taking a look at some of the nonsense from today. Just today alone, the banter is just ridiculous. Yes, but I think what gives us the best indication for me of hang on, I'll share my screen of how completely and utterly fucked the entirety of Britain is right now. The Wikipedia for the phrase 2022 United Kingdom government crisis now has a disambiguation. So we now literally, you have to specify more precisely which crises our government has had in 2022.
That so much to choose from.
Is that strong and stable? Is that good? Is that a good thing? I'm not sure that's...
Imagine if we'd have the coalition of chaos with Jeremy Corbyn.
Heaven forbid, or the awkward sandwich eater, Ed Miliband. It would have been terrible. I'm sad the Tories are strong and stable. Thus, red, white, and blue crises. Let's go.
Absolutely, 100%. Let's go.
Fucking joke. Yeah, I mean, again, some of the bants involved in this has been tremendous. We're going to be watching. I'll just explain for the Americans, an urgent question in the House of Commons, which is a piece of governmental / public business that wasn't necessarily on the books, that was urgently needed to be debated in the British Parliament, to the degree that anything needs to be debated in that fucking soul. But regardless, you can put an urgent question, and then the Speaker says, yeah, go on then, it's important. And as the British economy has officially swan-dived into the chasm of eternal nothingness that is death, I think, that was being discussed. And the Prime Minister was supposed to be the one speaking, but she was definitely not hiding under a desk. Definitely not. That's what I wrote.
We have confirmation that she was specifically not hiding under a desk because Penny Mordaunt has confirmed it.
True. And as Penny Mordaunt, I believe, is now the acting Prime Minister or something. I don't know. That's probably true then. Did you see that the lettuce versus Liz Truss live streaming? Are you aware of that?
Oh yeah. Which one? Which one will rot first?
Yeah, they put it under a desk. They moved the picture and the googly-eyed lettuce under a desk.
Incredible! I love it. By the 255 is
honestly the memes.
By the 255 AD is asking me to tell you that they've abandoned your chat for mine.
Good. Fuck you, Clem Fandango, you prick. Nah, I'm only joking. He'll be back. Also, he'll come running back.
Also, can we watch the YouTube stream of this, just so I don't get copyright striked?
Is there a YouTube stream of this? Yeah, I don't even know.
Sky News had it up.
Oh, okay. Urgent question then, I guess. Yeah, that'll do. Fuck
Ask it. The Prime Minister.
Oh, there we go. Right. Was that audio okay? Good.
To make a statement on the replacement of the Chancellor of the Exchequer during the current economic situation.
Mr. Speaker, with apologies to the Leader of the Opposition and the House, the PM is detained on urgent business. And
is that a good reaction? Is that the sign of a healthy democracy right there, when they're literally guffawing at her obvious lie?
I mean, this is one of the best things about British parliamentary democracy, right? In that I don't know anywhere else that does this. I don't know anywhere else where it's just like jeering like school children, and quite frankly, I'm all for it. I used to think it was unbecoming of the highest kind of office in the land, but then it's got a certain charm to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's something kind of charming about it, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if you saw this. The actual reason that eventually came out hours later, Liz Truss was in an urgent meeting with 1922 committee chairman Sir Graham Brady.
She's gone. She's going. That's it. Finito. We can only, if she's meeting Graham Brady, that can only mean one thing.
But no, time out. That was the excuse being given. But by the time that this was supposedly happening, that's him in the House of Commons.
What? So she must have actually been under a desk then, or possibly even in a fridge.
So
who knows?
She was literally she must have been. She must have been like the lie she made up was, I'm definitely being fucked over by the 1922 committee. So I'm definitely being ousted as Prime Minister was her defence position. Okay, I guess. I don't know. Did Hitler maybe lie about shooting himself first? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like she just needs to fuck off.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And they will have to make do.
I must hear the answer of why the Prime Minister's not here.
That's nice shade. I quite like that. Because he knows it's bollocks as well.
Yep.
He knows the fuck she's fucking lying.
Yeah.
I'm afraid you'll have to make do with me, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has taken the decision to appoint my right honourable friend, the member for South West Surrey, one of the longest serving and most experienced parliamentarians,
And an actual
as her Chancellor. Their overriding priority is to restore financial stability in the face of volatile global conditions. We will take whatever tough decisions are necessary and have made change the growth plan, which the Chancellor is waiting to update the House on as soon as this urgent question finishes.
Maintaining the growth plan. They literally got rid of it.
What was that, sorry?
She says all that to maintain the growth plan. Apparently, the growth plan was cutting taxes. Apparently, we were all told, right? The way to get the economy back on track and to get all of this growth was to take reckless decisions with regards to the taxation scheme that we had. But he's rowing literally all of it back, apart from what was it, stamp duty and national insurance. So that's the opposite of continuing the growth plan, surely.
Yeah. Well, indeed, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, that it seems that Liz Truss is now the queen of the anti-growth coalition.
True, absolutely.
It's good to say. Yeah. I don't know why my thing seems to be low. No, hang on. Turn off camera. There we go. Fuck my. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Right Honourable Member for Portsmouth North for answering the question put to the Prime Minister. I guess under this Tory government, everybody gets to be Prime Minister for 15 minutes.
Decent opening line. I fucking hate the guy who's purging leftists from the party, but that's a decent line.
He's got a couple of zingers in this one.
Yeah.
The country's in an economic crisis made in Downing Street. Because they've lost all credibility, government borrowing costs have soared, mortgage rates have ballooned, markets need reassuring. And there is long-term damage that can't be undone. Once you've crashed a car at 100 miles an hour, you've damaged the good, and you're going to be paying much more on your insurance for years to come. And it's working people who will pay. Left wondering if they can afford to stay in their homes if their hopes of owning a home haven't already been crushed. So now it's time for leaders to lead. But where is the Minister? Hiding away, dodging questions, scared of her own shadow. The lady's not for turning up. Now.
That's not bad. Shit delivery, but it's a good line.
Yeah, it is indeed a good line. If literally anybody else was delivering it with like an ounce of charisma, it would have sounded amazing. But I just can't get.
Yeah.
I can't get excited about Keith. He's just the least.
He's very boring. Yeah, he's very boring. Like you say, anyone with
But the middle-class Remainer types, they want politics to be boring again. They want to go back to poor people dying and them not having to care about it.
They just want to grill. Yeah,
They just want to grill. On their incredibly fancy gas grills that they bought from, House of Fraser or whatever. I don't even know where you can buy grills at House of Fraser. Is that just clothes? I don't even know. I don't shop at posh places. I shop at Tesco.
Exactly. Yeah, if anyone with any charisma would have said it, the laughter would have caused a fucking earthquake. It would have been that good, but
yeah, it really would have been.
Now it's time to be honest about the mistakes they made. Yeah. But what does the Prime Minister say? My vision is right. My vision remains. I sacked my Chancellor, but I can't tell you why. And now is a time for consistent messaging. What do we get? A Prime Minister saying absolutely no spending reductions. A Chancellor saying there will be cuts. A Prime Minister saying she's in charge. A Chancellor who thinks he's the CEO and she's just the chair. How can Britain get the stability it needs when all the government offers is grotesque chaos? How can Britain get the stability it needs when instead of leadership we have this utter vacuum? How can Britain get the stability it needs when the Prime Minister has no mandate from her party and no mandate from the country?
A good question, but also the polling's not looking good for them, is it? The Tories.
I literally posted on TikTok today. Me on stream on Saturday. Saturday might have been Friday or Saturday, saying, "Oh well, hang on a minute, Labour are 34 points ahead in the polls, but I think I'm almost certain that it will go higher. The longer Liz Truss stays in office." And then a cut to this poll behind the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme tune.
Yeah. I watched that and thumbed it up. Yes. Under this one, I believe I'm right in saying this would actually make the SNP the official opposition, i.e. the second largest number of MPs.
Assuming they accept it, right? They might turn it down on principle as to want
to. Probably, but in theory they would have the second largest number of.
Yeah, true. Imagine if you're Ed Davey and you get asked to become the leader of the opposition because the Tories have been destroyed and the SNP don't want it. It's literally it'd be like a 1993 moment in Canada. Do you remember when in the Canadian election where the Bloc Québécois became the official opposition to the Liberals because the Conservatives got destroyed?
Yeah, amazing. The SNP literally run just in Scotland and could end up with the second largest number of seats, which is almost impossible, but under the current conditions would be true.
100%. Well, yeah, anything can happen, as we saw in 1993 or in with the the National Coalition government in the 30s.
Yeah, true.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start by saying I'm quite quietly confident that the Leader of the Opposition will not have his 15 minutes of fame. With regard to questions raised on economic policy, I will defer to the honourable members.
Yeah, but who is the Chancellor? Do we know? Who is it at the minute? Do we have any idea? Is it still Jeremy Hunt? Is he gone?
It's Jeremy Hunt's parliamentary secretary, because Jeremy Hunt is clearly the Prime Minister.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Honourable members will want time to question fully and hear the detail. I do not wish to eat into that time. Our constituents will want to hear about the issues facing them, their bills, mortgages, benefits and their businesses. So I had wondered just what else the Leader of the Opposition wished to discuss in this UQ that would delay such an important statement. In his urgent question, he paints a contrast, so let me paint one too. The decision taken by our Prime Minister would have been a very tough one, politically and personally. Yet, she has taken it, and she has done so because it is manifestly in the national interest that she did.
You have to to admit,
She
right?
did not hesitate to do.
These people real?
I mean, but you actually have to admit, I actually think that Penny Mordaunt is actually a really good performer at questions, right? Like, you've got to, when you look at her and the way she answers the questions and the commanding presence that she has, she would have actually been a really, strong conservative leader, as much as I hate to admit it, because obviously she's awful, right? Like, if she was actually Prime Minister and she was answering PMQs on Wednesday against Starmer, what would he do? How could he unless the fact that they've been put into this ridiculous position by Liz Truss means that obviously she's got no hope because she's taking this on right now. Imagine if they made Penny Mordaunt leader, if she got like the extra 8 votes that she needed from the parliamentary party to be put to a vote to the membership at the end of the leadership election. Imagine if she was PM and she'd just done an energy price guarantee and not screwed up the economy. Like, how would Keith Starmer have responded? What would Labour have even done? I don't know how they.
I think Keith Starmer would have just melted. I think it would have just been a pool of gimp on the floor.
Exactly. I mean, it's great for us that they've now ruined their own reputation and ruined Penny Mordaunt's reputation at the same time, because she backed Liz Truss as soon as she got knocked out of the leadership contest. So,
girl boss, yeah.
So I'm happy to see the Tories destroy themselves, but there's an interesting conundrum of what theoretically would or could have happened if Penny Mordaunt had just picked Liz Truss into second place amongst the parliamentary party in the leadership election, because she's a strong performer.
In Parliament, but like we saw in the debates, she's not great when, like, I don't know, normal people. Like, she's a politician. If that makes sense.
That's true. And she had this thing where I actually genuinely think the statements that she's made previously before the leadership election about trans people are actually her genuine beliefs, right? I genuinely believe that she has like queer siblings, I think it is, right? But it just shows like how rabidly awful the entire Conservative member base is. That both her and Rishi felt like they had to make being nasty to trans people the kind of centerpiece of their political campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can tell how awful they are. I called it at the start. It'll be a brown person versus a white person in the final, and the white person will win. I said that at the very start, and it worked that way. And that's not because I'm Nostradamus. It's because the Tory party are very racist. But their MPs are bad, but at least they realise that Rishi Sunak is a talented, albeit horrible, brown person. Whereas their membership just see brown person.
Yeah, and they want to go for the idiot. I mean, it just shows, like, again, I keep saying this, but it just shows you that the Tory party, their members and parliamentarians have never, ever cared about fiscal responsibility or economic competence. They are all ideological, and they're all idiots. And they're all evil.
But they're even worse now, because at least before, look, they've always been like the party of the bootlicker, I suppose. Whereas now they're just the party of the uber nouveau riche. That's it. Like they're not even. They don't even care about, like, I don't know, the Queen or like the old establishment and stuff. Which, look, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but like, it's literally just the
One Nation
fucking hedge
Party
fund
is
managers.
dead, right? Yeah, it's like Lance Foreman types as their entire kind of supporter base at this point.
Yeah.
Do so because her focus is on the well-being of every one of our citizens. It was the right thing to do, and whether you agree with it or not, it took courage to do it.
True, but like sawing off your own leg would also take courage. But it's all fucked up things you can do that take courage. That's not in of itself.
Loyalty to Boris Johnson. Yeah, well, I'm sure like Comrade Dutch showed plenty of loyalty to Pol Pot. Doesn't make him good. Like.
Bro.
In contrast.
And someone said, "Who's the Churchill cosplayer on the right?" And it's they were talking about Therese Coffey, and I was like, "Oh shit! Now I can't not see that. Now she does just look like Winston Churchill." No.
Well,
I said we should get the transvestigators on it.
And the picture,
we'll see what they come up with.
There's the picture with the cigar as well.
Yeah. Someone linked that, and I was like, "Oh, you're not helping yourself, love. Jesus."
No, did you hear her talking about how she used to hand out antibiotics to her mates, and she was going to give the power for pharmacies to be able to dispense antibiotics without prescription?
Be into Snoop Dogg. Did you see that?
No.
When her phone accidentally went off, she was being interviewed by Nick Ferrari on LBC.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this a song came on, and she was like, "Oh, that's just one of the songs I listen to." Oh, shut the fuck up! Just fuck right off.
It's
Very high up on the hit parade, I'm led to believe.
someone in my chat is saying that
Most
Therese Coffey
serious-
looks like Ronnie Corbett. I think that's even truer.
What's that, sorry?
Someone in my chat is saying that Therese Coffey looks like Ronnie Corbett, and I think that she's like
There's a
halfway
bit,
between
yeah.
Corbett and Churchill.
Yeah. It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from him. Goodbye.
And goodbye for the Tories.
Moment.
Eventually.
3 years ago, Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, when this Parliament was paralysed by Brexit, a general election would have been in the national interest, and he blocked it. Today, when the country needs some stability and urgent legislation to put through cost of living measures, and while we are in the middle of an economic war levelled at every school and hospital in this country, he now calls for one, and weeks of disruption and delay.
But that's what you're going to get anyway. Like, what your fucking plan, your new plan.
Yeah, and it's also a bit cheeky to talk about disruptions and delays, considering that this is the party that put through their stupid Brexit plan.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Oh yeah, well, yeah, it will be interesting if Eddie Izzard gets elected. I suppose I should ask you as my token trans friend. What do you think of the whole? That's a joke, by the way. What do you think of the Eddie Izzard running for office in, is it Sheffield Central, I believe?
Sheffield Central. I actually think they're probably better candidates to be running, to be honest, rather than like I would like a trans person to be elected who isn't fucking Jamie Wallace. But you know, Eddie Izzard just seems to be a vote red no matter who type, and I don't think I really care. Whereas like a local actual left in Parliament, that's it. The floor is pretty high, but like I've seen. There's like the Abdi Suleiman is standing in the same seat as like a local person of colour running. So I don't know, like
yeah, it's going to be, I think, a very. I'm sort of dreading it in a way, especially if this drags on and the Tories do go the full 5 years without a thing, because it's essentially we've now got a running election campaign until whenever the election happens, which could be between now and 2 years from now. And Posey Parker apparently is going to be running again, or said she's going to be running against Eddie in Sheffield.
As an independent or for like the Tories or?
No, I believe as an independent. She might well do the adult human female party or something. I don't know.
But the XX party, like, I mean that's fine. Yeah. She'll inevitably just be absolutely trans because independents don't win. It's weird how in this country, I'm not saying for it.
Yeah. No. I'm not worried in the slightest that A, she get elected, or B, even have much of an impact on the situation in terms of transphobes are going to come out of the woodwork, and it's going to be awful. I
actually think that Kelly J. Keane is so like toxic and rancid as a human being. Right? She's so awful. The best thing that she can do for herself is give herself a huge platform, rather than being a fringe figure who gets to go on Tucker Carlson and read conspiracy theories to like a bunch of wingnuts. When normal human beings actually have a look at the kind of things that she says about trans people, I think that she'll do a lot of harm to the transphobic movement, right? Because J.K. Rowling is incredibly careful about the things she does or doesn't say on our platform because there's enough plausible deniability. Whereas Kelly J. Keane just openly talks about genociding us, and I'm like, okay, brilliant, go ahead, go tell the public what you want, and then they'll almost certainly kind of castigate her for it.
Yeah, I think the mainstream will, but I'm worried about the extremists who will happily take that on board and what they might do with that, if that makes sense. Like, the trans issue is relatively minor, I suppose, in terms of the public thing, but we've seen in America, whilst most mainstream Republicans are like nod in that direction, we've seen people essentially start doing terrorism, and that's worrying. It's not like Britain doesn't have a history of domestic terrorism.
The Conservatives being
Sure. Oh, 255 done their usual amazing face meld of Therese Coffey and Winston Churchill, and it's just Therese Coffey.
It's just Therese Coffey with all the
That's
glasses.
just Therese Coffey. Like, aren't you supposed to actually blend Winston Churchill in there as well? Because that's just, yeah. vote for me on Tory's coffee. That's just a fucking photo.
We will take no lectures from the honourable gentleman on working in the national interest. I could point to his frustration of us leaving the EU and campaigning for a second referendum. I could point to his support for the Right Honourable Member for Islington.
I could point to him saying a thing he believes. Okay.
Yep, I could point to him standing near the jam man whilst secretly trying to undermine him from the wings.
Indeed. Hang on one second. Someone asked me who's guesting with me, so I'm giving them a link.
Hi, my name is No Justice MTG. I am excellent. You should go follow me. And also,
True.
The people I have in my chat, there's people watching on the YouTube live stream. I have tagged you in the YouTube live stream, so there's no excuse for the YouTube watchers not to click that and go and subscribe to Kevin Logan. They
should do that. Yeah,
exactly.
Indeed.
To North and his positions on NATO, or his arguments against us leaving lockdown or our involvement with the EU Vaccines Agency, all against the national interest. And Norway.
Okay, but that defends of anything. Like, all she's now saying is these are the things he believes, and I disagree with them. That's essentially what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
He thinks they are in the national interest, and you don't. Okay, that's fine. You're different political parties. You should disagree on some shit. That shouldn't be surprising. But that,
also,
just because you believe it doesn't mean it's actually true necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. And also, what's interesting as well is that she's pointing out all of these things, and most of these things are things that the British public actually believe in. Okay, brilliant. Yes, tell. Why don't you attack them for believing things that the majority of people support? Like, for example, I don't know if you've seen polls recently. There's polls where almost 70% of people, like, it swung that wildly that 70% of people polled said they'd want to rejoin the European Union now. Like, this is crazy how much of the catastrophe of Brexit has turned people away from it.
Well, this is the problem I have, is that nothing left one of the reasons I wanted to remain in the European Union is because we get the best of both worlds under the old deal we had, right? Mm-hmm. The people didn't realise how sweet a cushy deal. Look, in order to keep us quiet, the European Union have given us so many opt-outs on fucking everything. Mm-hmm. We're barely members of the European Union at that point. Anyway, whereas now rejoining, we'd have to take the Euro and the Schengen and all the rest of it. It would be such a shit show that I'm not sure which way I'd want to go with it. Like, I'd probably vote to rejoin, I guess, but there'd be a lot I'd really dislike about it. A lot.
I mean, me too. But I think at the end of the day, what we really need is just, like, if we want to be able to minimise damage, but also respect the results of the referendum for, like, something in the future, we just single market and or EFTA. Like, I think that's the easiest compromise solution at this point, right?
Well, that would have been the absolutely perfect situation. You respect the result of the referendum, so democracy is fulfilled, and you don't fuck over yourself in the balls in the fucking economics. Join EFTA.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Works for Switzerland. Works for Norway. I mean, we're a bigger country than that, but I'm sure we could have made that work. It wouldn't have been the crippling disaster that this has been. But no, because the far right have taken over the Tory party, they're basically UKIP 2015. Mm-hmm. You've now got fucking these hardliners saying we have to do hard Brexit because that's what they voted for. No, it isn't. No one knows what they voted for. They voted to leave the European Union. That's it. Everything else apart from that is up for debate.
100%. And Keir Starmer has also adopted these red lines. It was crazy at the time when he was trying to put his point across about this, when his whole platform was identical to Liz Truss's, where Liz Truss was just like, we're going to keep all of the ERG red lines, but renegotiate some deals about the Northern Ireland Protocol by going back and then, speaking to the EU negotiators about, like, agri-food products and pharmaceuticals. And then Keir Starmer was like, that plan is rubbish. What I'm going to do is stick to all the ERG red lines and then go back to the EU negotiators to negotiate extra tariff-free trade on agri-food products and pharmaceuticals. I'm like, okay, what? This is identical. This is literally an identical plan.
Scribby in chat. It's frightening that Therese Coffey has a better complexion when she's morphed with Churchill. That is true. I hadn't even considered that. Bit of oil of Olay will fucking take the edge off that. You know what I'm saying? There's things like, come on now. Did you see? I mean, she's probably had some work done, but did you see? What's her name? Martha Stewart. Thirst posting on Twitter the other day, doing an advert for coffee or something. She's like 80 or some shit, and she looks fucking good. Like, there's no excuse, Therese. Come on now.
Especially as health secretary.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Looking like a blister when you're the health secretary is not helpful.
Really isn't.
Will we take any lectures on consistency of policy or messaging? The right honourable gentleman abandoned every single one of his pledges during the Labour leadership contest. That's
true. I mean, that is true, but you're presumably happy that he did, because he sounded relatively based during that, whereas now he's a cunt. Now he's basically might as well sit on your benches, frankly.
Oh, like, yeah, 100%.
Surely you're happy about that?
And it's incredible. I was watching Concrete Mike on Talk TV the other day, saying, during all of this, we've forgotten the real enemy is the Labour Party. I'm like, what? Hang a minute. The Labour Party have become the party of the things that you purport to support. Like, hang on a minute. What separates the Labour Party from the Conservative Party of old at this point? And I don't
know if you saw the Peter O'Born clip that was going around that went a bit kind of viral. Peter O'Born, the Conservative journalist. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was basically saying, as a Conservative, I think that Keir Starmer gets a massive majority very soon. Okay, well that I think tells you all you need to hear.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Because he wasn't saying that about Jeremy Corbyn, was he?
Oh, he was saying that about Jeremy Corbyn, actually. Amusingly, it didn't say massive majority, but Peter O'Born throughout the entirety of the Corbyn campaign was calling the media out for its lies and slander at the time, and he supported.
Oh, that's fine, yeah, but he wasn't saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think he was saying that he wanted Jeremy Corbyn to be like to completely take over or whatever. Like, I think he's.
Yeah.
I think the way in which the Tory centre and Tory left, to the degree that even exists anymore, are comfortable with Sir Keith is worrying for me.
Yeah, and I think in general with Peter O'Born though, like I think his real position is that he just absolutely despises this iteration of the Conservative Party. I think he recognises actually, and I think he did in 2019 that there's nothing particularly radical about Jeremy Corbyn's policy platform. Like he may not like it, it may not be his choice of political party platform, but it's better than, as far as he's concerned, this kind of kleptocratic kind of banana republic state that the Tories seem to want to create out of the UK, and anything to him is preferable, whether it be social democracy or neoliberalism, right?
Yeah.
Look, but I think the country also wants to hear what's being said. If I can't hear, they can't hear. So can we please listen to Leader of the House? I'm sure it's coming to the end. Leader of the House.
Do the order thing, you fucking knob. Be a performing seal.
Bring back fucking...
Speaker.
Well, that's all right. There's a lag on the line tonight, people. You're going to have to bear with us.
It's pretty slow.
Which is why, even on our...
Order. Mr. Perkins, if you want to go and get a cup of tea, I'm willing to pay for it.
Dick
Which
bird.
is why, Mr. Speaker, even on our toughest and most disappointing days, I will always be proud to sit on this side of the House. We will put the national interest first. Now let's get on and hear from the Chancellor.
Well, I think, first of all, I want to hear from the Leader of the House, Mr. Peter Bottomley.
Not so more important. Can I say to my valuable friend that the Leader of the Opposition has reversed most of the things he said he'd do if he became leader.
Yeah.
If you have a short memory, it's only 9 months ago when some of his senior colleagues were circling to say whether there could be a better Leader of the Opposition than him. And can I put it to the Leader of the House that when circumstances change, it's right for policy to change, and if what's announced today leads to a lower rate of inflation, a lower cost of borrowing, and a greater chance this country...
What cunt pronounces it Logan? Have you got a jaw? Have you got a chin, mate? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Get back to prosperity, it's worth doing.
Well, I agree with the Father of the House in what he says. The Right Honourable Gentleman opposite has reversed his on economic justice, social justice, climate change, promoting peace and human rights, common ownership, defending migrants' rights, strengthening the rights of workers and trade unions, radical devolution of power, wealth and opportunity, equality, and effective opposition to the Tories.
We now come to SNP spokesperson Kirsten Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, Scotland's First Minister set out an optimistic, ambitious and credible economic plan for Scotland's future. A leader who spent over an hour setting out and answering questions on the positive case for our country's independence. It's a very stark contrast to a Prime Minister hiding in Downing Street. A Prime Minister terrified to answer for the mess she has made, the mess which will cause so much harm to all of our constituents. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to keep this short and to the point. Can the Leader of the House tell us exactly where on earth is the Prime Minister? And if she doesn't even have the backbone to show up here today, is there really a point in her showing up here again? Surely time's up. She needs to go and let the people decide.
I mean, true, but also she does actually turn up. That's the word to do. A little spoiler alert for you. She turns up just before the end of this question, so she can sit next to the new Chancellor to give him support. She looks drugged out of a fucking. Though seriously, she looks like she's in a K-hole. Frankly, she then like saunters out like fucking Mr. Burns high off his tits in that one episode. Like 10 minutes later, what is she okay? Is she broken? What's wrong with this person?
Well, I'm glad to hear the First Minister of Scotland made a statement. I'm hoping that shortly the House will be able to hear from the Exchequer to set out the government's position. I'd be interested to know if the First Minister's statement included the tax dividend to every Scottish household of being a member of the United Kingdom.
Oh, for fuck's sake! It's this. Do they actually think that being condescending to every single question that the SNP ever ask in Parliament like that is actually going to make the Scottish people more likely to remain in the Union?
Yeah, it's so exactly.
Having some smug Tory fucking English prick look down their nose at the Scottish representatives and go, "Oh, actually, you're slightly better off financially, so fuck you." Blah, blah, blah. Like, they're just going to leave. What are you doing?
Mr. Speaker, in the last 4 weeks, the facts are that the global economic conditions that we face have worsened. Now, the opposition may not want to acknowledge that, but that is the truth. Inflation rates have increased around the world, and in the United States are now the highest they've been since 1982. Does my right honourable friend agree that we should always be prepared to make the policy changes we need in the best interests of the people that we represent?
Oh, God. I so want a general election just so I can see these meaningless Tory backbench wankers disappear.
Oh my God!
I don't want to ever hear from them.
To go, Jonathan Gullis, Brenton Clark-Smith. I just want them. I just want them gone out of my life. Out
Ben Bradley needs to
Bradley
needs to not exist ever again.
Mark Jenkinson, he needs to
Parliament.
go as well.
Yeah. Christopher Chope could fuck right off.
Do you
Absolutely.
think Chope would lose?
There's
it?
loads
Do you
of
think
them.
Chope would get beaten? Surely he's in one of the safest.
On the current looks of it, if that result is anything like what actually plays out at a general election, he probably would lose. Yeah.
But also, I want a
Yeah,
general
it's not
election.
impossible.
I also want a general election because it'd be excellent content. Because I don't really care. Like,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
Keith being prime minister does not excite me in the slightest. But
It does.
excellent
It does
fun.
numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, it would definitely create loads
People
of
look
content.
to cool stuff when it's like with anything. Like people like football content when there's a World Cup. They like sport content when there's Olympics. They like political content when there's an election. Yeah.
It's 100%.
Does numbers.
100%. Book the week off work, just stream 12 hours every day, non-stop election coverage. Let's go. Ride that algorithm.
That's good. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of
I'm
which,
going to have a
if
lettuce.
you are watching either of our streams, why not drop a follow or a subscription to our respective YouTube channels? And, or if you're feeling extra generous, dropping bits or subs. That's a thing anyone who's in chat can do in either stream.
Yeah, give us your money. We're better than you. We're streamers. You're chatters. Okay, we're on a different level. We're just better humans.
It's true, we are superior.
It is true.
Also, someone to point out in my chat that, you know, who else would go? 30p Lee would go. He would go forever. And quite frankly, good riddance.
There'll be loads of them left, yeah. Just left back in the Shires where they fucking belong.
Yeah, eating out of bins. Looking forward to it.
Oh, because there's a strong social safety net because of 10 years of passionate conservatism.
Well, literally, I use Keir Starmer comes into power. Like, with the one base thing we could do, like, we are restoring benefits back to where they were before this government, unless you're an ex-Tory MP.
To be honest with you, it was just as radical as we'll take you back to where you were at in 2010. That I'd take that. If he could just promise that, we'll go back to 2010 levels of shittery. You know what, Keith? I'll shake your body, mate. Absolutely, let's go.
I mean, I'm looking forward to him doing that theoretically happening, and then after however many years of trying to, you know, be the friend to the British press and just play the press game, trying to get them on side, he'll become Prime Minister, announce an uprating of benefits, and then they'll immediately all go on the offensive, calling him the Prime Minister of the Scroungers, and suddenly he'll get ousted in 5 years time.
Probably. But, well, talking of the press, the client press, did you see Liz? And I think she is drugged up now. She must be. Did you see her press conference the other day, where she was she just looked out of it?
Yeah.
She was just staring around the room, looking for like friendly journalists, and even they were asking her difficult. She looked punch drunk.
Yeah, it was like somebody like looking around the kebab shop at like 2:00 in the morning, trying to decide whether to have the chicken wings or the doner kebab. Like,
True. Yeah, and not just that, but the annoying prick who hasn't decided gets to the front of the queue and then makes everyone else wait. No, do your stupid face and look at the thing in the queue. Don't get to the front of the queue and start deciding, you prick.
Also, build
and that's how stabbings happen.
Subs. Also, if that's stream.
Yeah. Did you say Bilderberg gave you 5 gifted subs?
Yeah.
Motherfucker, stealing my people. Bilderberg, you're cheating on me.
Bilderberg is my second highest gift already, to be fair.
It's a disgrace, is what it is. It's like you want me to permaban you from my stream.
Not only is it a disgrace, it's an even bigger disgrace in the fact that we import 2/3 of our cheese.
True. Well, she can. Well, you know what? If she retires as Prime Minister, which she seems to have already, she can focus on the fucking market.
Also, agree with my right honourable friend.
Bilderberg says that he might be in Kevin's chat, but without my analysis, you'd be floundering. Apparently, that's what he says. He's told me to tell you, and how far be it from me to not to dance the tune of the people who are giving me money. I'm just a performing monkey.
This is outrageous. This is outrageous. You honestly, Bilderberg, you might end up being the Yoko of the Kevin No Justice situation. I'm just saying, mate. We're on thin ice, you know.
That is why the Prime Minister has taken this decision.
Thank
you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Talking up short and to the point.
What we've seen in the last month is one of the largest humiliations that this country has ever experienced. And it's directly as a result of the current Prime Minister's agenda, which she set out to the tiny sliver of UK people that voted for her to be the Prime Minister. Now, the Right Honourable Lady is perhaps auditioning to be the next one along. Surely she knows that this humiliated Prime Minister simply cannot last.
Look, this, as I said in my opening remarks, this will have been a very difficult decision for the Prime Minister, and she has taken it because it is in the national interest, and she should have all of our support in doing so.
Peter Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If I was the financial director of a PLC...
Yeah, you can't... As if we call him just Peter Bone.
Yeah.
Mr. Peter Bone.
Mr. Peter Bone.
Mr. Peter Bone.
We have to watch it now. We have to watch it.
Yeah, we kind of do,
We
actually.
have to watch it.
Oh, God. Mr. Peter... But please say it's on YouTube. I don't want to search fucking Twitter.
Yes, there it is.
Mr. Peter Bone. 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 Mr. Peter Bone.
Bro. I wonder what his fucking... what his majority is.
Well, I
wonder if he could lose. I have no idea.
So go to the
not
constituency. Scroll right up.
Oh yeah,
that
would work, wouldn't it? Yeah. Wellingborough. There we go.
Elections in the 2000s, 2020s.
Oh.
Next to the 2010s.
Mr. Peter Bow. Oh no, that's a big old majority. 18,000.
I mean,
that's within. It's definitely within the range if the current things are up, but that shouldn't be possible to overturn. But yeah,
here we are. Surprised, yeah. I mean, hang on. So they need
would be very funny.
What 20-point swing?
Yeah.
And to be fair, there was previously a 10-point margin other than the 2019 election. It was a 10-point margin between Johnson and Corbyn. Considering this 36-point margin.
Oh well, it's almost and Johnson loses his seat. So if he wants to make a comeback, he'll have to be fucking parachuted in somewhere else, won't I? No.
We're going to get the excellent moment like they did in 2017, where 1997, sorry, where it was on the BBC broadcast of the election, when as soon as a second Tory MP was confirmed, one of the BBC pundits said, "Oh, great, now we can have a leadership election."
Sick burns. Love it.
Remarks. This has been a very difficult decision for the Prime Minister, and she has taken it because it is in the national interest, and she should have all of our support in doing it.
Peter Bow.
Mr. Peter Bow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I was the financial director of a PLC and I went to a board and suggested that we cut our revenues greatly, and we wouldn't put up a tax, an increase next year, the director of the board would look at me and say, well, that's good. So, Peter, what are the spending implications and how is it going to be funded? And unfortunately for the previous Chancellor, he didn't provide those answers. We had a statement lasting 2.5 hours instead of a budget which should have been debated for 23 or 24 hours. So would the Leader of the House admit that that's the reason the Chancellor had to do? He produced a budget, not the whole thing.
Well, I thank my honourable friend for his...
That was a really clunky fucking way of putting that.
Yeah,
also, it wasn't meant to be a full budget. That's why they called it a mini budget. It wasn't meant to be a proper full budget.
A fiscal event.
A fiscal event. True. A special fiscal operation. There's no why. I don't know what the relevance of this is, Lefty Conspirator, but thank you. They've just alerted me to the fact that there's a human being called Dick Trickle.
Excellent.
There you go.
Definitely in the running to be a Tory MP at some point.
Undoubtedly. Well, especially because he's dead. So yeah.
I mean, yeah. To be fair,
that wouldn't stop him.
Probably better having him in charge of the economy than Kwasi Kwarteng.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he's dead means he's probably about as active as most members of the House of Lords. So
that's true.
Why not? Yeah. Almost attending the Tory conference that we saw. They might have been dead. It could be asleep. Who knows?
His remarks, and I hope that we will soon be able to hear from the Chancellor on these important matters, concerns for members of the House and also their constituents.
Ed Davey. Speaker, the previous Prime Minister shattered the public's trust in the government. The current Prime Minister has trashed the British economy.
Here he is, the next leader of Her Majesty's Loyal.
Let's fucking go. Actually, as much as I absolutely, to the core of my being, despise the Lib Dems, it's pretty difficult not to like Ed Davey. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like he seems like an Anthony Albanese figure, somebody who I disagree with on basically every position politically. But I think he's a nice guy. And to be fair, they're more liberal than the Labour Party is on like law and order reform at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. They're still in favor of drug liberalisation and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah, they probably
At a time when the Tories are like, we need to make weed a Class A drug. What world are cunts in, really?
Yeah, exactly.
God
and they
damn
also, they don't have their potential, future chancellor saying that it's bad that the Tories aren't deporting enough people. Like Reeve said.
Yeah. They're determined, aren't they? They're determined to win Tory votes. And I suppose in looking at the polling, it might be working, which is somewhat tragic.
I mean, to be fair, like,
Meanwhile,
amusingly, Christian Niemetz, of all people, from the IEA, I mean, he put it in a stupid way. He was talking about this on Twitter. He was calling them commie gammons, which apparently is what our older people in this country are about. Yeah, I have no idea. He's an idiot. Christian no-mates, we call him. But he's correct in pointing out that there's a very large subsection of our older population who are, socially conservative, but fiscally, not leftist, but social democratic, whatever.
Well, exactly. You got to bear in mind the old sort of Labour left were that way. A lot of the kind of old trade unionist left were. Some of them were like communists, but were like anti-gay. Do you know what I mean? Like that's not an unusual thing for an older person to be necessarily, because they grew up with post-war consensus. They're very Keynesian at the very least, but also think that the trans people need to be maybe kept away from everyone or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's not an unusual thing.
And that is true. I think people.
But also, fuck that noise.
I also think even when Christians looking at this kind of stuff, I think people will have a look at those kind of things and they will almost forget the fact that people answer differently when they're being asked about specific policy prescriptions as they are when they're looking at someone's overall economic plan, right? Ask somebody, do you think things should be nationalised or whatever, and they'll just say yes or no. Then they'll ask them, do you think that this party led by the Jam Man has a economically viable plan for doing so? They'll say no. Obviously, that's not true. The plan was viable, but you see how people's perceptions of things get changed in certain contexts.
Exactly. Well, this is why democracy doesn't work. I remember the American example of the ACA, the American what do you call it? Affordable Care Act, the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. When people were asked in the street, "Do you support Obamacare?" Like it was like 15% supported it. If people were asked, "Do they like the A?" it was like 80%.
Yeah,
they're the same thing.
Yeah,
it just call it. So if you just slap a different label on it, oh, this isn't genocide. This is selective immigration plus.
Yeah, exactly.
People would go for it.
100%, 100%. And I do think that that kind of old vanguard of people who are socially conservative but fiscally, social democratic, I think that's just gone away now. Because I think people, and especially pollsters and especially politicians, just I don't have any idea about demographic shift. Obviously, we've talked about this a lot on our channels before. How all of the old boomer types that now live in the quote unquote red wall constituencies, like people, they weren't really lost by the Labour Party. They drifted away from Labour values as they became retired, as they paid off their mortgage and they became homeowners who had second homes that they inherited from their old grandparents, right? They became Tory voters because of their own material interests. It wasn't because the Labour Party had lost them or anything like that. So, these people, they may think of them as quote-unquote working class people, but how the actual relationship that means production is what is important, right? And if you're retired, all you're doing is taking money from the state or from your previous pension pot. So you stop caring about things like employment rights, like council housing. Yeah. Actually, all you really care about is making sure that your pension increases and that the value of your home increases. So why would you vote anything other than Conservative at that point, right? It's only now that their mortgages are being destroyed and their house prices might theoretically fall that they feel like they have to vote Labour instead of Tory, and why their polling numbers are falling. So the idea that these were a bunch of people who are only voting Tory because Labour are too woke, that's just essentially it's just a media campaign to try and make people think that suddenly young people who might be they might have kind of like home counties accents or whatever, as yours truly does. But if they're working in a call center or working in Costa, in the inner city, somehow they're the metropolitan liberal elite. Whereas if they were in like an old mining town, but they were older, but they own their house or whatever, and they're retired, suddenly that makes you more working class because of your regional accent. When you look at their wealth, their relation to community production, their actual own material interests, these are completely disparate groups of people, and one group is rich and one group is poor, and it's not the people who are living off their pension and have an ever increasing house price that are poor. In fact, pensioners are 80. Well, I think it's 80% more wealthy than young people are at this point, despite not working. It's like the level of wealth disparity is crazy.
Yeah, this is where boomer neoliberalism has gotten you. Even like you say, people from relatively middle class background, from what would have been more affluent parts of the country, don't really see that they have an interest in capitalism anymore. It's not actually working for them. You can get a degree and try and work all you fucking like. You're not getting anywhere. You can get on the fucking property ladder to pay through the nose to rent a fucking cardboard box in a major city. Look, it's ridiculous. Especially in London, where obviously that's where all the big money gets made, and no one can afford to live there. It's been gentrified, basically.
Yeah,
all of inner city London has been gentrified.
Yeah. And it affects electoral calculus as well. Like once they just destroyed and decimated all the manufacturing up in like northern towns, like any child that was born in like Accrington or Barnsley or places like that, they've become 18, they've gone to university because they were told to by the Blair administration, right? And then they went to university, and then what are they going to do? Where are they going to find a job in Accrington? There's nothing. All of the manufacturing's been destroyed. So they have to stay in their university city and get a job at Costa or in a call centre. And then, that means there's a conglomeration of this youth vote within city centres, right? That's why they see this huge... That's why this is why the Red Wall collapsed. Like, they wouldn't... Unless... if the Conservatives hadn't ballsed everything up over the past 4 years, they would have stayed blue. And they wouldn't have stayed blue because Labour had lost them. They would have stayed blue because their own... The demographics has changed, and the people who are still there and now have different material interests to what they had during, 2010 to 2005. Yeah. That's a shift that, for some reason, every single politician and pollster just willingly ignores. I wonder whether they're doing it deliberately. We can only speculate.
Also, that poll that has Labour 36 points ahead, is this true? Is this how it would break down? Because that's fucking wild. Then the Lib Dems would just be outright the opposition. The Tory down to 22 seats. That can't be right, surely.
I think this is more accurate than one we were looking at before. I think that a lot of these polls have put the SNP too high, and some of them have put them too low. But I think that them losing about 6 seats to Anas Sarwar's Labour, I think that sounds about right to me, looking at how swing would usually work in those seats, considering that a lot of polls are putting making it look like the UK swing is being done proportionate, when actually no, this is Conservatives drifting to Labour. SNP will stay with SNP as far as I'm concerned, but an increase in Labour vote will turn around those Glasgow swing seats, right?
Yeah. Basically. Yeah, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Yeah. But that's what the Tories would lose more seats than it would take to form a majority.
Yeah. No,
literally 326 you need for a majority. They would be losing 343 seats.
Yeah, I absolutely.
That's
100%.
fucking insane.
I mean, look at the seat we were just looking at. What, Peterbone in Wellingborough, right?
Wellingborough,
on a 10-point winning margin across the country, against 10 points ahead in 2019, he had a majority of 40%, like a 40-point majority in his seat. So you know now there's a 36-point lead as far as Starmer is concerned.
Labour.
That's 46% the other way. So that breaches that majority. In this one in Wellingborough, like
all I can say
sounds reasonable to me.
Look, all I'm going to say is the South Coast needs to fuck off, and the Wash, and the Thames Estuary, and then we've got no Tories left. Awesome. They're going to get literally wiped out in Scotland. There's not a Tory that would win. Yeah, National Party.
I think if this did happen, there'd be a party split, right? In the same way that it really looks like
there's no party left. How are they going to split? There's 22 of them. What, 11 apiece? They could have a football match. Yeah.
I mean, the donors have got to go somewhere, right? But when you look at the membership, the membership are just, when we look at the kind of thing that the actual parliamentary party wants to put through, which is fiscal conservatism, but which is, trying to govern quote unquote in the national interests, right? And you look at what the membership want, which is far right libertarian economy destroying nonsense. Like that's something that can't continue. It's in the same way you look at Labour, and what the membership want is social democracy, and what the leadership want is neoliberalism. That also is untenable, right? But once Keir's got his vice grip on the country, why would he ditch first past the post? Like, we have this.
Yeah, true.
The representative democracy we have in this country is broken beyond belief.
True.
When we
I was trying to work out what.
Whereas the Tories should be like 2 parties and Labour should be like 3 parties. When you actually look at them ideologically.
Yeah. I was trying to work out what that black seat was, but then I was thinking that's Lindsay Hoyle, isn't it?
Yes.
That'll be Lindsay Hoyle, see the Speaker, who's like technically neutral.
Yeah, there'd be
So,
one like Southwest.
Technically a
party,
Labour MP,
There'd be a Southwest party that would be like I think there's an independent candidate who would win on this swing, and then the rest of it's all just Labour or Lib Dem.
To be honest with you, if that was to happen, a lot more independents would get in, I think. Is that, undoubtedly.
Is that Clwyd? Is that Vale of Clwyd still staying blue on this swing?
One of them, maybe, I don't know.
There's one Welsh blue seat. Who the fuck in Wales is still winning a Tory seat on a 36-point lead? What the fuck's going on? There are no Tory representatives left in the Senate.
But there are like 4 people who live in it. It's a big bit, but there's like 4 people who live there, and 2 of them are Tories and one of them's dead. So like it's essentially it's little better than a rotten borough at this point.
But is Baldrick standing then?
Yes, he is. Yeah, after he accidentally stabbed himself to death whilst trying to shave. So, shame.
Yes, it's not Vale of Clwyd.
Conservative MPs have sat there and let it happen. So for the damage and pain they have caused across the country, will the Leader of the House, on behalf of our whole party, address the people and businesses of our great country and apologise?
Honestly,
Right on the gentleman.
how ways about by how all shambolic and like broken British politics is. They're all just wet lettuce.
And it's a very Lib Dem question, that one. You've destroyed the country. Now, will you say sorry?
Yeah, but it's not just that. But he had like the forcefulness of an 80-year-old's erection. Like, there's nothing to it. It's Kiyama and great fucking political orators of the day. This is Gladstone and Disraeli battling it out, is it? Fucking Christ! Is this how shrunken we've become? It's really sad because I know loads of people, just literally who live around me, who are better people, more well-spoken, more fucking erudite. They've got some passion about them, and these are the wankers in Parliament. What?
It's pathetic.
Yeah, leave Colin the Dachshund alone. He's a very good boy voter. True.
This question. We have made this change a reason, and I understand that people want certainty and reassurance about their bills, their businesses, and their benefits. And I am sorry that the events leading to the change today have added to the concerns about the major volatility that was already there existing in the economy. That's why we are putting it right today, and what my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, will be talking about in his announcement shortly.
Richard Graham.
Speaker, the country is waiting to hear from the Chancellor on issues of fiscal responsibility, market stability and sustainable growth. Does my right honourable friend agree with me? What this entirely unnecessary debate shows is that the opposition are putting politics before the interests of our constituents.
Is this from the party that have already been over 100 letters to the 1922 committee a month into their new Prime Minister who hasn't been elected? But the Labour Party are putting politics first?
Also, it's still such a dumb question. Yes, we are playing politics. The whole point of politics is it's about the effective utility of the things that you stand for, and the ideological points and the policies that you stand for, and how they will affect your constituents. That is playing politics.
No.
Playing politics is about making things better for the people that you represent. What a dumb question.
No, come on now. If I wanted politicians to play politics, then does a bear shit in the woods? Yeah.
I agree with my honourable friend completely.
Hillary Benn.
If you're ever, by the way, if you're a politician and the minister, doesn't matter what party you stand for, and the minister just goes, "I wholeheartedly agree with my friend," resign.
Yeah.
Because you're not asking a question, just doing like silliness. Why are you there? You're wasting the British public's time. You're wasting the opportunity of the quote-unquote mother of all parliaments, whatever, to actually ask and hold the feet to the fire of very powerful people on behalf of your constituents, and you've used it to suck their dick.
Yeah, literally.
Resign.
Does the right honourable leader of the Commons also agree with me that puppies are indeed cute? Well, thank you for the question, right honourable gentleman from that constituency. I also do agree that puppies are cute, and I put it to the opposition to forthwith state their agreement with the statement that puppies are indeed cute, else be eviscerated by the electorate. Like, what's the point? What's the point? What is the point?
Well, the right honourable member Jumbly Crumbly attended the grave of a puppy murderer. Absolutely.
Indeed.
Thank you 255, you delightful lunatic. Apparently that seat has 50,000 people who live there. Yeah, okay, I wasn't literally saying there are 4 people, and it's Montgomeryshire or Montgomeryshire.
Right. Yeah, I was looking for myself.
Remain. Member of Parliament is Craig Williams of the Conservative Party. And hang on, where are we?
I know why, because the second place party is Lib Dems, and actually looks like a vote split between Lib Dems and Labour would keep Tories in power, so there's going to be some kind of tactical voting in that place.
True, although I'll be honest with you, if the Labour are that far ahead, they probably won't even go for a tactical thing, because there'll probably be some seats that'll be in reach that they wouldn't have thought would be in reach.
You got to accept the voters do, and in fact, the voters that you'd want to expect to do so, you'd want Lib Dem voters to switch over, right? Lib Dems are going down in the polling, so
actually, to be honest with you, in 2019, it wasn't even a split in the vote. If you added up all the rest of the party's votes, they wouldn't get to the man.
No, 100%.
A majority of 12,000 from a turnout of 34,000, which is pretty impressive.
Google this man's face. This man literally is the most Tory-looking fucker I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god, he's definitely inbred as fuck. Look at this guy. Holy shit. It's Tory boy. He grew up. Look at that!
Look at those teeth! What's going on? What the fuck is this?
Was his mum a horse? What the fuck is this? That is tragic, man. Holy fuck. He does look like a Joker smile. Jesus Christ. Okay, someone's got to do the makeup on him. Someone in chat, you've got to get on it. Do the makeup on him, I'll put him on screen. Amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Fucking hell.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the House said yesterday that what the country needs is stability.
I didn't know he had a political career.
I agree with him. So can she explain to the House why the Prime Minister is still in office?
Thank you.
It's clear to almost everyone, including many of her colleagues behind her today, that she is no longer in power.
Yeah. I think it is incredibly important today that the Chancellor be allowed to set out the policy.
What was his name? Oh, good question. His name's Craig Williams. I'm sure there won't be more than one Craig Williams in the world. Sure.
Changes that is made to provide answers to this House and the country, and we can restore certainty to the growth programme. That is what will help stability, and I would ask all honourable members to consider in their questioning to me how those questions will help that scenario.
Stephen Crabb.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pragmatism, dealing with those are traditional strengths of Conservatives.
Yeah, you're Tory Welshman. There you go.
Fiscal changes being announced by the new Chancellor today are entirely correct.
Although not for much longer, it would appear.
Agree with me, though, that the very last thing that's needed right now, the last thing that mortgage holders need, people struggling with housing, people worried about paying their fuel bills. The very last thing they need right now is further political instability upsetting markets.
My right honourable friend is right, and we also need to put through legislation to enact some of the that will help with the cost of living issues people are facing. We need time on the floor of this House to do that, and we also need to give the public some certainty about the future.
Alison McGovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Turbulence in the markets, though, and the reason that the Chancellor was replaced is not just about tax, it's about trust. And trust in the British government comes from the knowledge that it enjoys the consent of the British people. How does she think that's going?
In the House.
I think that the Chancellor should be able to come to the floor of the House and outline his policies. This is a serious moment. We want to ensure that the markets are reassured, and I would suggest that any questions she has on economic policy are directed to the...
I feel very reassured, yes. I've never felt safer in the hands of a series of politicians than currently.
Well, actually, I'm very one.
But then again, I do want us to become Mad Max, so that's why I feel safe. I feel like they're definitely going to do that for me.
The Liz Truss accelerationist arc.
Yes, the anti-growth coalition rises.
Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In giving the answer that she did to the Leader of the Opposition...
Now, I'm going to guess, is this guy Scottish? Just a hazarded guess. I don't know what about him makes me think that.
My right honourable friend has abundantly demonstrated to this House what an enormous asset she is to the governing party.
This is a guy who knows he's losing in the next election. Good.
Can I just ask the right honourable lady, does she agree with me? Any single Conservative MP would make a fantastic Chancellor, well above any socialist or separatist opposite.
No, that's so many of you backbencher Tories are like fucking brain dead. I don't know how you get out of bed in the morning and don't fucking, I don't know, stub your face on the fucking furniture. What do you mean?
Yeah, quite.
Like you're mental cut. So I genuinely, you could just be replaced with a fucking a mannequin. Just put a mannequin in a suit.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we've just seen Craig Williams, right? Like,
you just seen what? Sorry.
We've just seen Craig Williams. Like that's if you needed any reassuring that any member of the Conservative Party could be replaced by like a gimp in a suit. Like there you go.
Yeah, I mean that guy looks like he's definitely got webbed feet. That's how inbred he is.
100%.
Yeah.
King of the sheep shaggers, clearly.
And look, he's got a vestigial tail that's longer than a dog's. Okay.
I think in terms of the opposition's performance, I think Larry the cat would give them a run for their money.
Sammy Wilson.
You keep that cat's name out of your fucking mouth. How dare you? Larry the cat is a fucking king. You're not fit to stroke him. Yeah.
Definitely not.
Mr. Speaker, I and my colleagues take no joy in the difficulties which the government and the country find.
Oh, Sammy Wilson, please, Roblox. You fucking prick. Sorry, I don't like Sammy Wilson.
Self in at present, because of course it affects all of our constituents. And would the Leader of the House not agree with me that for most people watching this today, they don't want to see political point scoring or in-house backstabbing? They want to know how they're going to be able to afford to pay their mortgages.
Hang on. Sorry, go on.
It's stupid that the DUP get to ask questions for the opposition, right? Because we all know that they are literally just like Tory like lapdogs at this point, considering obviously the confidence and supply agreement of 2017. Like there's just no reason why they should get a question for the opposition where all they do is just do what the Tory MPs do and say, do I agree with what the government is doing? I do agree. That's all they do.
Well, yes, that is all they do.
It's pointless. Absolutely pointless.
They're going to meet their living, and how are they going to make decisions about their businesses? Leader of the House.
The right honourable gentleman is absolutely right, and lovely though I am, I think people want to hear from the Chancellor. They want to hear the detail of the policies that are changing. They want to be able to. Members will want to be.
Jim Shannon. That's sorry. I was just trying to look him up. In terms of the DUP, I still hate his politics, but I do like Jim Shannon, who was sat next to Sammy there, because he's always there. He's literally always in Parliament. It'll be 11:15 on a Tuesday evening, and they're having an adjournment debate about the bus services in Rochdale or some absolutely nonsense that's got nothing to do with him, and he's still there, just going fucking. Just engaging in political discourse. He just likes talking about stuff.
I mean,
you know what? I'm down with that.
He's clearly kind of performing his commitment to unionism, right? And he's so committed to the Northern Irish Union that he's just going to be in the English Parliament forever. It's never going to leave. And if they try and if for example, because obviously we've got the 11 days for them to declare a leader installment, right? And if they don't, there's going to be new assembly elections. Which, if as the DUP are holding up that process, you have to imagine those are going to be the people who are going to take the battering in future Stormont elections, right? So if we get to the point where the assembly just have majoritarian control by Sinn Féin more than they even do right now, where does that leave Northern Ireland? And if they break away, you're just gonna have to drag him kicking and screaming out of the Commons, no, I'm staying here to deal with the union. I'm here for the union.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're gonna have to actually properly drag him out.
It was. That's amazing. Oh no. Oh. Craig Williams, Joker arc confirmed.
Oh dear, that's perfect. That's just
okay, that needs perfect. To be that needs to be an emote. I'm making that an emote,
does.
definitely.
It does, yeah.
And then I have to explain who the fuck Craig Williams is.
the incredibly important
random
MP
streamers.
for Monmouthshire.
Yeah, that's amazing. Absolute dickhead. Save image. There you go.
To ask him about how that.
Thank you, Pandanus. That's amazing, mate.
That is what we should be focusing on today.
No, Lord Fritas, sorry.
Mr. Speaker, I very much welcome the speed at which the Chancellor has acted, but can the Leader of the House confirm the Chancellor and all members of the government will continue to work with colleagues in the back benches?
You talk about him being a sheep shagger or whatever, but...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Prime Minister, British wool is a functional, versatile product, but sadly farmers across the UK and indeed Montgomeryshire feel frustrated that this highly sustainable natural product is not properly valued and utilised to its full potential at the moment. Can I ask the Prime Minister to help boost the export market or indeed our domestic demand for British wool as we build back better? For example, use the wool as a great insulator for the next generation of sustainable housing.
Well,
Mr.
literally fuck off.
Mr. Prime Minister, would you pretend to look interested while I bring up some boring shit about my constituency?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. This is why camera filters were invented. The greatest use of technology that's ever existed.
Did you see the people who took the blue background from the conference and then just we covered it on stream.
We did. I had to mention that I couldn't show the gay porn ones. I couldn't do it.
Definitely. Have you seen
Terms of service?
This one's a reply to Reem Ibrahim. Have you seen this person before?
I have not. Who is that?
Basically,
Libertarian conservative. Oh, wanker. Okay.
Yeah, she's a TikToker, right? And she's been on TikTok for a couple of however long. She's got
she's on Talk TV.
Yeah,
oh no.
She's literally a nobody TikTok with 6,000 followers. I've not got that many fewer followers than she does on TikTok. And immediately, as soon as someone gets a whiff of social media clout, immediately Murdoch is on the phone hi, I'd like to christen a new media personality. She was the one who there was a
She's
video
got
of
4,000 Twitter followers. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, they did a TikTok of her at the Libertarian Society from her university, right? And there was just everyone talking about their politics. And
is that her? Around the thing with the around the table, with literally like the nightmare blunt rotation,
There was like the really greasy guy with like the really long hair and like the massive scraggly beard, who just came up. It was so greasy, like I think he fried chips on it, and he just said, "I'm a libertarian." I'm like, I can definitely 100% believe that. 100%.
Exactly. You would definitely try and. He would definitely try and bring up the age of consent in conversations that do not involve it. Yes, I know.
100%, 100%.
To ensure that we are able to communicate the great successes of this Conservative government to all parts of the nation.
What successes? What, you didn't drop the Queen's coffin? That's about it, isn't it? You didn't like set the house on fire. That's about it.
Yeah,
I'll
take it.
Well, thank you. And I know the Chancellor with all members of this House in the interests of all of our constituents, and I hope that there will be also opportunities to talk about our record in government and how we've transformed this country for the better since 2010.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the House's response to this urgent question was quite frank. Ridiculous, claiming that the Prime Minister cowering in some corner somewhere is courageous.
Go on, Che.
It does not take courage to crash our army. No. It takes reckless arrogance and a disregard for ordinary people's working lives. It equally does not take courage to sack her Chancellor after barely a month. It takes total desperate opportunism. Will she admit that what it will take to restore our fiscal credibility and the confidence of the markets is a Labour government?
The Prime Minister's actions did take courage, personal courage, and it was the right thing to do in the national interest. I think the right thing in the national interest is let the Chancellor give his statement.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Do you aware that the day doesn't end after this? Like, he can speak after this is done. There's an order in Parliament.
Yeah, exactly.
So you speak about this for an hour, then he can say his fucking thing.
Yeah, 100%.
What?
It's really
It's so weird. Why are we debating the legislation when we could be debating a different one?
Also,
okay, we will. It's next.
Apparently, Liz Truss now has a 70% disapproval rating. And a 67% disapproval rating among 2019 Conservative voters.
Oh, no. Conservative voters, man. That is... Ouch. I saw her approval rating was at 8%, and I thought to myself, who the fuck are those 8 people?
Yeah.
Who are those? What the fuck? That is rough.
Whether it was during the pandemic, 150
She's less
billion
popular than
pounds
Prince
spent,
Andrew.
whether it is Ukraine and 100,000 refugees who are now in our country that our constituents are looking after, or whether it is the hardships of the energy crisis, can my right honourable friend tell us that this government will always...
Oh, just literally go away. Again, you are pointless, mate. Your existence is nothing.
do what is necessary to step up to the plate and help the most vulnerable people in society in our country and the rest of the world.
Friend of the House.
As I'm sure the Chancellor will say, we are in very volatile times. The war in Ukraine is not just a war against the people of Ukraine. It is an economic war against other nations.
The war against Liz Truss. And we must remember she is the real victim in all of this. Vladimir Putin did it deliberately to fuck up Liz Truss. What a monster.
I thought the real victim was the Guardian journalists who had to somehow defend Vladimir Putin when he got into bed with J.K. Rowling.
True.
It was all a plot to make Guardian journalists look bad. If they don't do it in a...
Well, I thought it was weird that Vladimir Putin opened the speech with women will not wish, but, you know, that's just me.
Hello. Too, and we will always do the right thing in those circumstances.
Then Sybil Roberts.
The new Chancellor's veneer of fiscal responsibility fails to disguise that imposing more painful austerity is a political choice made to save the absentee Prime Minister from the consequences of her ideological experiment. Mm-hmm. With Welsh Government already facing a shortfall of over £4 billion over 3 years, and public services close to buckling. Further, austerity will entrench the vast wealth inequalities that characterise this disunited kingdom. Yeah. Will she admit that now even the pretence of levelling up is dead?
Well, I would ask everybody to remember that we have given the largest budget ever to the devolved administrations. But against the backdrop of coming into government where there was no money left, we still have managed to hold down fuel duty, introduce a living wage, create a modern welfare system where people are better off.
Modern welfare system where people are better off.
Except we literally aren't. We are literally. That's just a complete lie. And also, I'm just absolutely fucking sick of hearing, that there's no money left because of the joke that Alistair Darling left in number 10. Right? I'm fucking sick of that line.
Liam Byrne,
it was
please.
the entire pretext for a decade of.
It was Liam Byrne, please.
Liam Byrne, sorry, a decade of.
I want some respect for Birmingham MPs.
Birmingham MPs, or a decade of ideological austerity, whilst borrowing was literally the cheapest it's been in decades, right? Then they told us, we have to make sure that we balance the books and run the government's budget like a household budget. It doesn't matter if people get poor, and it incensors me to this day that they still go with the same line, which surely must be politically nonsensical as well. Like, how many people who are voting today are making other decisions based upon what happened in an election 12 years ago? Well, to be fair, the amount of people who say they'll never vote Labour because of Tony Blair again, that number is still pretty high, to be honest.
To be fair, he did do some war crimes though, so that's. I mean, I kind of get some of that. I think.
Obviously, that's a huge piece of it, which was very maddening to me. That even during 2019 and 2017, when we were trying to get people to vote for the Jam Man, everyone was like, "Oh, I can't never vote Labour because of the Iraq War." What? The war that Jeremy Corbyn voted against and publicly campaigned against? What? Do you think that him and Blair are in anywhere near the same politically or ideologically?
Exactly. Yeah. Also, just the idea that in a nation whose main economy now revolves around food banks, that we've got a welfare system that people are better off in is just a genuinely ghoulish thing to say.
Yeah, 100%.
Awful.
And got nearly 4 million into work.
Bobby Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I share the government's desire to reduce the tax on working people, but of course we must ensure stability in the markets because these go hand in hand, and therefore I welcome the Chancellor's announcement to the markets earlier this morning. Can my right honourable friend confirm that the government is working with the OBR and others in developing policy for the upcoming medium-term fiscal plan?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for his remarks. He is absolutely right to stress the importance of stability, and I think that will be helped by the Chancellor being able to make his statement.
To Stella Creasy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the House suggests that we should be grateful that the Prime Minister has made a difficult decision, and I presume she means grateful that she stuck to it, given the number of U-turns that we've seen over the last couple of days. But that's the job, making difficult decisions. There are difficult decisions to be made about what is happening in Ukraine, about the fact that President Putin has nuclear weapons, about the chaos caused by gang crime, the climate crisis, Ebola in Africa. And all we know right now is, unless she tells us otherwise, that the Prime Minister is cowering under her desk and asking for it all to go away. Isn't it about time she did and let somebody else who can make decisions in the British national interest get in charge instead?
Well, the Prime Minister is not under a desk, as the
Which is proof, if proof were needed, that she definitely is. She's not told the truth about anything else, so why would she has that time?
Well, I mean, you committed the faux pas number 1 of accepting your opponent's framing, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think that the Prime Minister's a massive piece of shit. Okay, there you go. You said it, okay.
I can assure the House. I can assure the House that she is with regret, she is not here for a very good reason.
Yes,
that I'm not going to mention, but it is a good reason, I promise you.
The good reason being is that she's under her desk.
Yeah. It's that actually she put herself a little pillow fort under the desk. Why would she leave that? Look, can you think of a better reason than comfort and safety in your office?
100%.
Checkmate, libs.
I've done that at work. Don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
But neither has she taken this decision to win the Honourable Lady's gratitude. She's done it out of a sense of duty because she knows what's in the national interest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my right honourable friend said, it will have been a difficult decision for the Prime Minister, both politically and also personally, because of her loyalty to my right honourable friend from Spelthorne. But it's vital that we provide economic stability for families and businesses in constituencies like mine and across the country. And we've already seen that this morning from the Chancellor. So does she agree with me that it's high time that this House heard from the Chancellor about how we are going to provide that stability?
Yes.
Andrew Gwynn.
Thank you. We know that the Prime Minister is now not in power. We know that there has been a coup because the Prime Minister should be here to defend her decisions today. We want to know from the Prime Minister her economic plan has been trashed just weeks after it was announced. We want to know from her whether she is sorry for the misery she has caused to millions of people across this country. We want to know on behalf of those who now have new mortgages at higher interest rates.
Oh, it's amazing. She's not under the. She's not under the table. She's barely in the cabinet. Nice.
It's a good one.
Office furniture jokes, people. That's what we want.
100%.
The foreseeable future, whether she's sorry for her actions. The Prime Minister, she says, isn't cowering away. So if she isn't cowering away, will she be here to sit by the Chancellor and to show her confidence in the new plan for the country?
To be fair, she does. It's that she shouldn't, because she should have been doing other things, apparently. Apparently they managed to drag her out from under the fucking table.
Apparently so.
I know it is not usually
apparently with the use of a
the,
fucking tranquilizer dart
to overly dramatise the situation. But I don't think there has been a coup. What I do agree with what he said is these are serious matters for our constituents, and I hope that all honourable members will be able to question the Chancellor and
It's not a coup, it's just a political event. Okay?
Answers they need for their constituents.
Jerome Mayor.
Mr. Speaker, fiscal stability is always the backbone of any growth policies. The actions of the Chancellor of the Exchequer. But just as important are pro-growth reforms to back entrepreneurs and businesses. So can the Leader of the House confirm to me that the government will continue to review EU-inspired regulations to make them bespoke for the UK economy, deliver pro-growth investment zones right across the country, and boost our energy supply?
I can give my honourable friend that insurance. This is really important to our communities. We will continue with our programme of on EU law and EU retain, also on our enabling regulation the Department for Trade is looking at, and also on investment zones, which there has been an enormous number of expressions of interest.
Bill Esterson.
In her initial answer to the urgent question, the Leader of the House blamed international finances. But if that's true, why is it that people in this country face more in their increases in mortgage payments than elsewhere in the world? And if it's true, why did the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England say yesterday that the crashed markets is the result of unique circumstances?
He's making a good point, but could you not put me to fucking sleep, mate? Come on.
Channeling William Shatner to do the statement. Does the Prime Minister also agree that, given the circumstances?
Yeah, it's very, very annoying.
In the UK.
Also, look at the thumb behind him. Good lord.
What's that? It's Neil Coyle, right?
I don't know. It looks unlike my big toe.
He does. I mean, in which case, almost certainly is Neil Coyle.
Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't it be better for her and for the Prime Minister to admit that they got it wrong and that they are responsible as a first and necessary step in rebuilding confidence in the markets?
It is Neil
Well,
Coyle,
I would
yes.
point the honourable gentleman to mortgage rates elsewhere in the world, but also suggests he raises this with the Chancellor, who is waiting to give a statement.
Dr. Kieran Mill.
Thank you, Speaker. I welcome the change of approach, and I think it was the right decision to take in the circumstances. At times like this, our constituents still do want to be reassured. They're worried about their bills. Can you confirm for our constituents in the whole House that our plan to help...
Why is he talking like a 2-year-old in the high school who's just having to give like a presentation to his English class? That's... Okay, you have to speak to people on the doorstep, mate. Come on.
with their bills, this remains in place.
I can give him that assurance. The Chancellor's statement today is incredibly important, and people will want to hear about the package that we're bringing forward to help on energy prices, but also other measures as well to help with cost of living.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We've just seen the back of one Tory Prime Minister for trampling over standards in public life, only for them to be replaced by another
Go on,
who in just
Gaza.
40 days has herself failed to meet at least 3 of the Nolan principles. I'd love to ask the Prime Minister herself about it, but given that she's not here, I ask the Leader of the House leadership to sack your Chancellor for doing exactly what he was asked to do. Inactivity to refuse to allow the experts to assess the so-called mini-budget. She agreed that the first test of accountability is to actually show up.
Yes.
Leader of the House.
I would suggest to her that it is leadership to take tough...
The party opposite stood on a manifesto that would have inflicted the highest ever tax burden on my constituents.
Space.
Friend, that Labour can never be trusted to support the hard-working people of the UK or Southend West.
Look, what I like to see is female representation, okay? Female gammon matters. And I appreciate that.
The tax burden on her constituents. Hang on a minute. Is she trying to say that literally all of her constituents earn £80,000 or more a year when those are the only people who are going to get any additional taxation under Labour?
Yeah, she's from Chipping Sodbury under Wold, the third Esquire. So yeah, come on.
The Honourable Lady is not wrong.
Rebecca Longbailey.
Speaker, Pendleton Leisure Centre, a flagship council development to tackle health inequalities in an area of high deprivation which seldom enjoys such investment, was suspended last week, largely, I'm told, as a result of the government's economic car crash and the prospect of more public spending cuts to come. Will the Leader of the House apologise on behalf of the Prime Minister to the people of Salford?
Leader.
This is... although this is not business questions, if the Honourable Lady would like to give me the details of that case, I'd be happy to take it up.
Simon Benz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can my right honourable friend assure the House and my constituents in Clwyd South that this government will always pay and make whatever tough decisions are necessary?
Oh, another guy expecting a P45. Good.
100%.
To ensure that we go for growth in a
This guy looks like the pit boss at a casino.
and conservative way.
Or an extra from The Sopranos.
Yeah, quite.
I can give him that assurance, and the Chancellor will be along shortly to give him some more details.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask the Leader of the House, who does she consider does a U-turn better? The Prime Minister or the Leader of the Scottish Tories?
Well, I live in hope that the honourable gentleman and his party might do a U-turn and decide to honour the democratic vote in a referendum.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, just take the L. You got a meme done. Just tell him to fuck off. Like...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since elected, I've spent 3 years working on the Health Select Committee with the now Chancellor. He's got an eye for detail, a compassion as well. Isn't he exactly the right person to come forward and stabilise and demonstrate to the markets how difficult it can be in turbulent times? But he is the man to bring us forward.
Why didn't you do that a month ago then?
Yeah, exactly.
I thank my honourable friend for those remarks about the new Chancellor. I think that is precisely why the Prime Minister has chosen him.
Dave Dynage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In terms of the national interest and also to offer further reassurance to the market, can the Leader of the House just confirm that the Prime Minister will not be taking any decisions on economic policy in the future?
Pretty good. Look, even she knows. Even she knows.
Yeah, even she must know, surely.
I have great affection for the honourable lady, and I'm sure the whole House appreciates her question. But the Prime Minister and her Chancellor and her Cabinet will be taking these decisions in the future. And
I've got to say, Penny Morton, she's done a decent enough job polishing this turd. I'll give her that.
As I said, I think she's a really good Commons performer, right? She's good. She's imposing in her presence, which is, as I said, if she wasn't dealing with like the actual handful of shit that she's been handed by Kwarteng and Truss, I think she'd be walking all over Starmer and the rest of the opposition, like candidates, apart from maybe Blackford, right? Like, but obviously she's working with nothing. She's literally looking at staring down the barrel of a 36-point lead, going, well, I might as well do the best I can. Like, there you go.
That's fair enough.
I'm glad we're in this position, right? Because if she'd become leader, it would have been interesting. But no, everything's fucked. I mean, because at the end of the day, she backed Liz Truss to be leader in the first place, so she's just as complicit as everybody else.
decision that she has taken over the weekend, although personally difficult for her, is the right one for the nation.
Sarah Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the House has mentioned a couple of times now that the Minister has taken difficult decisions. Can I please enlighten her that these are not difficult decisions? Difficult decisions are what are facing our constituents. Choosing whether they can actually turn the lights on, finding out how they can heat their homes and how they can feed their children. Don't our constituents and those people deserve an answer from our Prime Minister, and answer our Chancellor will tell us later.
Nice. Bit soy,
the
but
Honourable
not.
Lady will want to hear from the Chancellor, because she will be able to
fuck's
ask him
sake.
the precise questions that are of interest to her constituents.
And because the government's so shit, I have literally no idea what he's about to say, because they're just making it up on the hoof. So I don't know what he's got. What his fucking plans are.
Yeah, we're going to we're literally going to nationalise Greggs. That's what they're going to do. That's their plan.
Oh, let's fucking go! You know what? I'd vote for that. I'm just putting it out there now. I'd have to. It would hurt me to do it, but I'd vote Tory if they nationalise Greggs.
They're going and their second policy is to remaster the Time Splitters series and release a fourth one.
No, I don't. I'm not a geek. I don't get that.
You don't.
But I'm down for the Greggs. I'll let you have your moment with whatever that was, but I'm just interested in vegan sausage rolls on the national dime.
100%.
This government has always protected.
Imagine the rage from Piers Morgan. That would just be.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I think he would actually emigrate.
Yeah.
I think he would, which is literally all the more reason to do it.
100%. Let America keep him this time.
People against the cost of living.
I don't think it's that we dragged him back. It's that America didn't want him anymore. It's not like there was a massive clamber for him to come back.
Just people playing
and it is
two
always
countries playing tennis with Piers Morgan's head. It's like, fuck off. No, you fuck off.
Yeah. It is. It's like an exploding bag of shit, and whoever's holding it last gets covered in shit. And we're covered in shit.
The most vulnerable in our society, and we will continue to do that.
Mr. Carmichael.
Mr. Speaker, can I say to the Leader of the House that she and her colleagues do not have a monopoly on the understanding of what it is to take difficult decisions in the national interest. In 2010, my colleagues and I entered government and took many difficult decisions for which we paid a political price. We did it because it's in the national interest. We did it on the advice of and we set up the Office of Budget Responsibility as a consequence. The Prime Minister would also be part of that government. At what point did she think it
was? Right click, save image. There you go. Lovely work.
It was no longer necessary to listen to the Bank of England and the OBR.
Well, can I first thank the Right Honourable Gentleman for raising the issues we faced in 2010 when we came in. People will remember the note outlining that was no money left. What is less well
For fuck's sake. It's going to be the 2050, whatever, and they're still going to be going on about, Burn left a note, a funny note. Just fucking let it go. You've been in charge for long enough now that it doesn't matter.
But the important part of the thing is they have to continue this paradigm, right? That the government budget is somehow like a household budget. Now we're thinking, it's like, the issue isn't they've borrowed too much money. The issue is that they've borrowed too much money whilst also cutting taxes, which proves that they're less likely to be able to then pay back those bonds in the future. If you're taking out bonds, but your promise to you is to use them to increase productivity to then generate more GDP so that you get more tax revenue to pay them back, then that wouldn't have caused the same market fluctuations that it did. And that's not something that people get their head around. All they can hear is government borrowed too much money, therefore the economy collapsed. And then, because if they continue this paradigm of, well, that's the issue with borrowing, the markets don't like it if you borrow, and that is hence why there's no money left, that helps them in the long run, because that essentially it gives credence to that neoliberal kind of monetarist economic narrative about how the budget works. When that's not and Labour going on this attack line is nonsensical. Like, they want to use public money to quote unquote create a renewable energy publicly owned provider, which won't be a provider, it'll just be a slush fund to be able to direct into to subsidise the private sector, but whatever. The public aren't going to know that. But what they want to be able to do is come the next election go, look at all these promises, how are they going to pay for it? When we try to borrow a bunch of money, the economy collapsed. The same thing will happen when Labour borrow money for their stuff, without there being some kind of delineation between borrowing money for tax cuts and borrowing money for infrastructure, right?
Indeed. I'm hearing some buzz around. There's an idea floating around in Westminster circles of a December the 15th election. Is that with Liz Truss as leader? Not sure. That could just be speculation. Who knows?
Is the scorched earth policy accompanied it to tie an incoming government into all kinds of contractual difficulties to make their job so much harder. That is why those on the opposition benches should never be allowed near government. And I would say to the honourable gentleman that the Chancellor will be along.
Well, even if the people vote for it, what do you mean?
Shortly to answer questions about the OBR.
Jess Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I find it
Here we go.
absolutely incredible that the leader is incredulous that people might want to hear from the Prime Minister. As if it's like, a political game to ask the leader of our country questions. It is an embarrassing thing to assert, but in the national interest, and she's so...
When did she become Queen of the Karens, by the way? When did that happen?
I don't know. I mean, she definitely was. She was definitely like that when she was speaking with Owen Jones, right? Saying, like, the amusing part is, right, that she said specifically when she was speaking to Owen Jones that she'd be very happy to support a progressive policy platform.
Yeah, I think the only
it's not the only thing is you've got to be in power to be able to put them into policy, and it's not viable at the moment, right? She wants to work in the realm of viability. They have every opportunity now to be able to do the radical platform that they say that they want to do really, but they don't think is politically viable. Brilliant. The Tories have collapsed now. You have a huge mandate to do whatever you want in future, given you're staring down the barrel of a 500-seat, landslide victory, right?
Yeah.
And do they actually change tack and put forward a properly progressive social democratic policy platform? Do they fuck? Of course they fucking don't. It's because they don't actually believe in it. They're just lying to try and hoodwink the members, and all they are career liberal politicians who realise that if they want to be able to be in power and make all this money from all the different deals they do with Facebook and Meta and all these bloody companies that they do private talks like David Lammy does, the only way they can do that is by hijacking a big political movement to be able to get there. They're careerist fucks, and I absolutely despise them.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, look, she's literally got the Karen haircut, and she's like, "You're incredulous that I want to speak to the manager." She's literally doing the Karen bit, and I appreciate that. He's gone whole hog with it.
She really has. She really has.
I respect
She's literally being given the supervisor when she wants the manager. That's literally what's happening.
Exactly.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how long I've been shopping at this democracy?
I have a good one to leave.
The chance.
Exactly. I will take my democracy elsewhere in future. Good day.
Chancellor, can I ask her to be completely honest, because nothing that we've seen has been honest. I apologise.
Nothing sexist going on there with sit down.
Chancellor earlier will deliver some stability in
it's
the markets.
It's not an individual, it's withdrawal, right, carry on.
Oh, yeah, because it wasn't an individual. Okay. Good. Why is it? Because we had to have the statement earlier at 11 o'clock while I was on the train. When you can actually get on a train. Can I ask her why the markets needed reassuring?
Well, the first thing I would say to the ladies, I fully appreciate the optics of me appearing at the dispatch box, but there is a very genuine reason why the Prime Minister is not here today.
Which I cannot tell you is real and honest. I trust me.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely not in peace of office.
And I just to you that it is not. I can understand people wishing to make political hay over it. She would be here, is not able to at this moment. And the Chancellor will be along shortly to answer the questions.
Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last Friday, the value of the pound fell after the Prime Minister walked out after just over 8 minutes from her press conference. Isn't it increasingly the case that she and her government are a risk to Britain's financial stability? And isn't it time she stopped shirking, turned out to be held accountable, or get out of the way and call a general election?
Well, I would just stress again to all honourable colleagues that there is a very good reason why the Prime Minister is not here, and that the Chancellor will be making a statement shortly where you can ask him these questions.
David Linden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On the subject of the replacement of the Chancellor, given that he lasted 38 days in office in the economy, can the Leader of the House confirm that the member for Spelthorne, the former Chancellor, will be rejecting his ministerial severance payment?
Leader.
I would not be involved in that decision at all, but honourable member you can write to find that out.
She has claimed repeatedly that the Prime Minister has been courageous. But if the Prime Minister were really courageous, be here today, wouldn't she? The Minister cannot or won't come and explain to the British people the reasons for her humiliating U-turns and to apologise to them, as she just did from the dispatch box, for the damage the Tories and she have done to this country and living standards and businesses. What is the point of her?
Leader of the House.
Well, I would refer the honourable gentleman to the answer I gave a little while ago about the Prime Minister, and again to already worries about the very volatile global economic situation, and that is why I'm keen and happy that we have a statement from the Chancellor today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister repeatedly declared that she was working in lockstep with her Chancellor, but then very unceremoniously dumped her closest political friend at the earliest possible opportunity in order to temporarily save her job. And now, in the greatest of ways, she has sent out the very right honourable lady to speak on her behalf, who is very desperately seeking to replace her. But Leader of the House, I understand that Downing Street is hosting a reception this evening. Is it awake?
Leader.
I can't believe they absolutely fucking tumbleweeded him. That's a decent line.
That's a good line.
Considering some of the tripe that gets guffawed at in that fucking place. Like him.
And I do like Tamandeep Singh Desi. Like he was like Trado Transport Secretary, like during the Jeremy Corbyn leadership, election campaign in 2017, and he was pretty forthright about renationalising rail. So pretty big fan of Tandesi.
Good lad.
I would say to the honourable gentleman that the motivations for the Minister taking the decisions that she has...
Also, I like it the way he talks, and
Yeah.
the fact that his accent is so nondescript.
Yeah.
From
It's even
anywhere.
Slough. Like,
Oh, God. He's from Slough. Oh, no.
Slough indeed.
I didn't know that. Come friendly bombs and fall on Slough. It isn't fit for humans now.
No, it really is not. I mean,
Honestly,
it has been.
if you get chat, I mean, he's obviously a transphobic piece of shit now, but back when, but not when Brent was the character's name, back when Gervais was funny, if you get a chance to see the outtakes of him reading through the John Betjeman poem Slough, which involves the line that I just said, that's where it's from that poem. It's so funny. It's fucking brilliant. He's going about, and the women frizz out their hair with peroxide, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what? Don't only like girls?
Don't like girls.
No, it's very good. Yeah, I don't know why I gave my West Country accent there.
Although to be fair, to be fair to Slough, it does have a massive Tesco's, and all roads do lead to Slough Tesco's.
Yeah.
Like no matter which road you drive down in
True.
Slough, you will eventually end up at Slough Tesco.
Well, that's the thing. It was actually originally just a wild pasture of Tesco's, and the town of Slough grew up around it.
Yeah, it's true. It's
It's
true.
true. That's what happened with all the little chefs. They were just in the wild, and then the
villagers
motorways came and connected them all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
have been about the national interest. He may not appreciate, and I'm not asking him to, the courage and the duty that she felt to do that, but that is why she has done it.
Chris Stevens.
So, I just want to be clear, can the Leader of the House confirm then
Confirm.
that the former Chancellor has been removed by the Prime Minister for acting on her instructions? And can she also confirm that the Prime Minister overruled the former Chancellor in the content of the financial
That's a wig.
before it was made? Because if both things are true, the Prime Minister needs to resign, doesn't she?
Prime Minister.
These are not matters for me. He may wish to raise matters with the Chancellor. I think what our constituents want to hear from us today is about the issues that are affecting them, and that is what the Chancellor will be speaking about whenever he gets to this chamber.
Wayne David.
Can I ask the Leader of the House, on behalf of the Prime Minister, will she simply say to the people of this country, we are sorry?
I have done so twice before in this UQ, and I will do so.
Oh, I'm so sorry we fucked up the economy. Ooh, ooh. Like, what good does that fucking do anyone?
I would love to have a just urgent question, and then they just have like a hologram of like Hatsune Miku answering the questions. That would be far more entertaining.
Or just pretend like if she's just stood there, but she's got cat ears on, and she's not going
Yeah.
to comment on them. She's just going to pretend like they're not there. That would be
It's
quite
like,
cool.
It's
as
like
well.
batting the hanging microphone, just like batting them away.
Yes.
So again, I know that this is an incredibly uncertain time for families and businesses across the country. The events that led up to the statement that is being made
Fuck them
today
boy hooters, them boy
are
comment.
fortunate, and I am pleased that the Prime Minister has taken decisive action to stabilise markets, and I'm sure that he will want to question...
Oh, Jim Clark, that is so savage. Teresa's coffee stands out like a sore thumb because she is one. That's so brutal.
Oh dear.
Oh, no.
Deserved though.
I had to bring that to everyone's attention. That's delightful.
The Chancellor, those details matters. I have done, and I'm happy to do so again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're told that the Prime Minister is going to be coming in here in a moment to join the Chancellor when he makes his statement, presumably propped up El Cid like Jolton Heston. But this should have been an opportunity for the Prime Minister to show leadership
Reference
and
for
to
the
apologise
kids.
to the nation before the dispatch box in the chamber of the House of Commons. Yet she's failed to do so. We've all heard the stories about our constituents up and down the country who have had mortgages withdrawn at the last minute, whose lives have been put on hold because of the reckless mini-budget that she agreed with her Chancellor. So doesn't the Leader of the House agree that it is reckless of the Prime Minister to not show that leadership today and be in this chamber to be accountable for what she has done?
Leader.
I think the Prime Minister has shown leadership in taking the tough decision that she has, and not for the first time. If our Prime Minister, when Secretary, had not shown leadership, we would not, alongside European nations, be giving the support to Ukraine that we rightly should be proud of.
Kevin Newland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The fact is that the Prime Minister was as courageous as the Leader of Search should be here answering questions this afternoon. The fact that the Prime Minister is unwilling to come to the House shows the complete lack of authority she now has. Week before the country, week before Parliament and week before the markets. Refusing to face parliamentary accountability for actions is not cowardice.
And she's only got a week left.
Of duty. The House not agree with me. It's time for this. It's well past time for this lame duck Prime Minister to go.
Leader.
The Prime Minister has come to this House.
It's so fucking wild. She's been in charge for a month, but it's still true that it's far past time that she should have left.
Yep, 100%.
Amazing.
It's almost like
Absolutely
It's
amazing.
almost like, right? You never should have been Prime Minister in the first place.
True.
True.
Many times, and in the previous role she's held, she's come to this House many times, often to talk about very difficult issues. There is a genuine.
No one said she hasn't been there before. That wasn't the criticism. People are aware she's been there before. She's not there now, or when this was done, obviously a few hours ago. She wasn't there at the time. So why, okay.
Genuine reason, honourable members, why she is not here, and I hope that she will be able to join the House later this afternoon.
Then Margaret Hodge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wasn't going to rise to ask a question. I'm concerned at some of the answers that the Leader of the House has given.
Oh, this fucking wanker.
If we are to stabilise the markets and restore some confidence in the economy, we have to have trust in the strong leadership of our country, and that is the role of the Prime Minister. She has said a number of times that there are good reasons why the Prime Minister is not here this afternoon. In the interests of total transparency and in the interests of proper accountability and to restore confidence in markets, will she give us those reasons?
Leader.
The Right Honourable Lady will have to be content with my assurances. I can't disclose the reasons. I have asked if I can. I'm being very genuine with the House on this matter. I hope that she'll be able to join us a bit later on this afternoon. But both the Prime Minister and her Chancellor and her Cabinet are determined to take the tough decisions to ensure that we have stability and confidence going forward. I hope that the Chancellor's statement will the Right Honourable Lady.
Chris Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To be honest, I just thought it was utterly shabby to sack the Chancellor of the Exchequer for doing precisely what he'd been told to do by the boss. It's like when you sack the staff for messing up yourself. It's not on, it's bad form, it's not honourable, it's despicable. But what really worries me is you can't really govern if you don't have a mandate. You can't govern if you can't get your budget through this House, because by definition that shows that the House does not have confidence in you. Every honourable government previous to this, at that moment when it's evident that they couldn't get their budget through, has resigned and allowed a general election. Isn't that what should happen now?
True. By the way, everyone, get ready for no 7 p.m. starts for Kev, I don't think, during January and February.
Brilliant.
Grim times.
Wonderful.
Can't wait. That's,
I'm sure James Whale will be happy though on Talk TV. Back in his day, we loved huddling up around the candlelight in during these times of new rolling blackouts. Kids these days just need to toughen up, and I'm like, yeah, great, brilliant. I'm glad that you're looking forward to the rolling blackouts.
And in the blackout-induced silence, we'll just hear the screams of right-wingers going, "But Jumbly crumbles!"
He was going to crash the pound. He was going to cause the rolling blackouts, just like the 70s.
Yeah.
He was going to crash crash the economy.
Yeah, awesome. Good.
Well, what I would say to the honourable gentleman is that I think it is an honourable thing to act in the national interest, even if it is incredibly difficult personally and politically for someone to do that. And that all members on this side of the House were elected in 2019 as a team on a manifesto that we are determined to deliver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Lady has said many times that the Prime Minister couldn't come here for a specific reason this time. So could I ask the Leader of the House, is there a reason why the Prime Minister decided she didn't want to make a statement to the House? Because she could have chosen any time to do that, even at 10 p.m. Does the Leader of the House not think that we as elected MPs and the public in this country deserve to hear from the Prime Minister?
I'm sure there will be many opportunities to hear from the Prime Minister, some in the next 24 hours, but given the nature of the statement today, it is appropriate.
She's going to be there in 2 hours?
Brendan O'Hara.
48 hours, surely.
Under her desk or behind a couch. People rightly view the Prime Minister's sacking of the Chancellor as a particularly unedifying act of self-preservation, given that he was thrown under the bus for saying exactly what she asked him to say. It would be like the ventriloquist Ray Allen sacking Lord Charles for saying the wrong thing. So will the Leader of the House join me now in asking the ventriloquist dummy?
I mean,
Well,
I don't want to interrupt a solid burn, but I just want to point out we've had fucking boomer references. We've had Al Cid. We've had fucking Ray Allen. What the fuck?
At least he could at least have gone for. He could at least have gone for Keith Norville, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
On her own benches, who demanded that the Scottish Government follow this insane economy-wrecking policy to apologise to the people of Scotland.
Duncan Ross is a clown.
Well, the first thing I would say is to thank him for the fact that the public might be concerned for the former Chancellor. But I think what they are really going to be concerned about is their own household budgets and their businesses. And that is why it is important this decision was taken, and we will hear from the Chancellor shortly. With regard to his other point, I would just point out that there are many people, including many people in Scotland, who would like the First Minister to apologise for some of her decisions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With economic plan much like a judgment in tatters, the fact she can't even be bothered to come to the chamber today. What is the point of the Prime Minister?
Oh yes, famous Labour MP Christian Wakeford of Bury North. Clearly somebody who has the utmost criticism of the Conservative leadership, who he put into power in 2019 when he stood as a Conservative MP.
No, he's a solid working class Labour MP. I don't know who you're talking about.
He's definitely not. He's definitely
hardcore
not a massive...
socialist Christian.
Yeah. He's definitely not a massive grifter who just wants to take home his £80,000 check.
No, not at all. No.
I thank the honourable gentleman for that insightful question. I repeat, the Prime Minister would normally be here, but there is a good reason why she isn't.
Nick Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it true that the member for Spelthorne first found out that he was sacked on Twitter, rather than being told to his...
Leader of the House.
Honourable and right honourable members of this House are obviously want to ask all kinds of questions, but I think what the public...
That's not a no, is it?
Very
Notice one word she's not said so far in this answer is no.
Yeah, quite.
Happen.
Are worried about is the cost of living issues, the stability of the markets, the energy package that we will be putting through later today to help them with the cost of living. And I would just all colleagues to remember the context in which we are meeting this afternoon.
Yeah, the absolute shambles this government has produced.
Is the Prime Minister on the way to the palace?
I would.
Was child. Ew.
I would very much like to be able to tell all honourable colleagues what the Prime Minister's business is today, but there are very serious matters as well as economic matters that are in the Prime Minister's in tray.
I think the difference between honourable and honourable is if you've been a front bencher, is it? I think.
I have no idea. I wish I knew.
I think so. I think that makes you right. Honourable is just like if you've just always been a backbencher or some shit. I don't know.
And
I mean, none right or honourable, so it doesn't matter. But yeah.
And surely it should be depending on your political ideology. There'll be the right honourable and then the left honourable.
Hey-oh. Exactly.
Which
Let's say some of them are far right, but you know.
Yeah, the far. I would definitely do that if I was in Parliament, right? And if I'd done like Steve Baker or some shit like that, who was taking questions, I'd be like, does the far right honourable gentleman agree with me that he's a piece of shit?
What did you say? I just said right honourable.
No, she comes to this house on a regular basis and she'll be here tomorrow, but she's not able to be here at this precise moment.
Toby Perkins.
Mr. Speaker, the markets were spooked not just by the reckless mini-budget, but also by the sense that we had a Prime Minister incapable of answering questions at the end of a press conference.
You cannot convince me this guy's not a cartoon bear in a human suit. You can't convince me of it. It's true.
100%.
And without any sort of grip on this government. So it is entirely legitimate for my right honourable friend from Holborn St Pancras to give her an opportunity to come and assure the markets. Isn't the reality that the Prime Minister's inability to answer questions is just as fundamental as the failure on policy in why this country is now in an economic crisis?
I'm buoyed up by the fact that the members on the opposition benches very much want to see the Prime Minister, and I hope that if she is able to join us this afternoon, that they will give her a big cheer when she does.
Christine Jardine.
How fucking bullshit is that? Like, I hope if she does do her job, I'm just going to sarcastically suggest you should give her a cheer for the basic of doing her job. Eat my dick? Like, eat all of my dick and my balls and my ass.
You see, it's a very rightoid opinion that people seem to want congratulations for doing the incredible basics of their job. Like, I don't know, like the police, right? I'm one of the good ones. I didn't commit any race crime today. I'm like, yeah, your job is to not do that, right? I shouldn't be congratulating you for being one of the less bad ones.
Actually, not all of us are domestic abusers, Sweaty.
Yeah, 60% of us are domestic
well
abusers,
done.
actually.
Well done.
That's the point. Like 60% of the police aren't domestic abusers. That's a stat that you can stick your hat on, right? A whole 60%.
Exactly.
Of
The
them.
majority of them don't go home and beat their wives. So,
Yeah.
checkmate, libs. I think I'll be taking 40% of the national budget or some shit. I don't know what it is. No, and a truly absurd sum of money for the privilege of doing fuck all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I accept what the Right Honourable Lady.
That's true. If you turned up fucking hours late for your job in any other situation, you get fired. True.
Yes. Yeah. So I had a really important meeting with the inside of my fridge.
So did Boris Johnson a while back. Yeah.
Yeah, quite. So.
Oh, actually, that was someone else's fridge, but you get the idea.
Saying about the Prime Minister not being here, that there may be a very good reason. And I also agree with her when she said frequently that be acting at the moment in the national interest. For me, the national interest is what is in the interests of our people, our constituents. And what they are telling me in Edinburgh West, and I'm sure very many of the rest of you, is that they no longer have any confidence in this Prime Minister. While she had the courage to sack her partner in presenting the growth plan to the country, that what they would like is for her now to have to accept that she was also wrong and to step down. So will the Right Honourable Lady and her Cabinet colleagues please take that message back to the Minister wherever she is?
Wherever she is.
Well, I think that the Prime Minister, in her current role and previous roles, has always acted in the national interest, and she will continue to do so. Her government will continue to support her. What we need, this country needs some stability and some assurance now, and she all takes decisions in the national interest.
Davis.
As the new Chancellor has reversed all the economic policies made by the Prime Minister in her election campaign to become Prime Minister, and that very Chancellor had the fewest votes in that leadership election, he was thrown out with 18, doesn't this show that the next Prime Minister should not be chosen by the members opposite and their wider membership, but by the British people in a general election as soon as possible to get this country back on track?
The House.
Well, I think there are...
It's true. Even the slim mandate she had from the 80,000 people who voted for her, she doesn't have anymore because she's not even going to do the things she said she was going to do.
Well, the thing is, what's a really interesting point is it seems to be U-turning on basically everything, right? I mean, it's a really interesting point. Obviously, one of the main things about the budget reversal is honouring Rishi Sunak's decision to increase corporation tax up to 25%. In the actual manifesto they got elected on in 2019, there was promise not to raise corporation tax. So they then broke a promise, then unbroken it, and then broken it again, whilst also breaking the promise to their members that they made during the leadership election, which was also breaking the promise that they made to the electorate in 2019. It's an absolute fucking clusterfuck. Yeah. It's great. Or trusterfuck, if you will.
If you just U-turn and U-turn and U-turn, essentially it's not a U-turn anymore. You're doing donuts. you're just sliding. It's ridiculous.
Just burning rubber.
Yeah, those tyres are going to be fucked the way these bricks are U-turning every 5 minutes.
They really are, but it's just like, again, it's just democracy in this country is just completely screwed up. And again, partly because of first past the post and because of the failures of representative democracy in general, as H-Bomb said, right? The problem isn't that people don't want experts. The problem is we have no experts because everyone expects politicians to do their thinking for them. And it turns out the politicians are fucking idiots. They're all just clowns.
Not just that, but virtually every economist is a neoliberal.
Yep.
Which, I mean, so they're not economists, they're just ideologues who have taken on the moniker of professional economist.
100%.
Okay, well, that's not helping anyone.
And why would you, if you're a professional economist, why would you go and get a job trying to predict things and getting things right or wrong and then getting called out on it, when you could just get a job at a hedge fund, getting given loads of money by incredibly rich and powerful people to toe their ideological line? Doesn't matter if you get things wrong or right because you're no way held accountable by anybody and you still get your fat 6-figure check at the end of the day. What's the point in being right or honourable or correct or insightful or any of this shit when you could just toe the line of the bourgeois and the super rich and be able to have a really comfortable existence with no threat to your income whatsoever? Again, I'm not blaming these people specifically like they're evil, but it's just the set of incentive structures we have when we have the class dynamics that exist in this society, right?
Yeah. I get why people sell out. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still disgusting, but I get it.
Obviously, it was just like, well, there was
Makes
like
sense.
I think we talked about this on LBC, how there was Emily Carver from the Institute of Economic Affairs, sounding incredibly angry when Adam Bienkov from Byline Times castigated her for the IEA not showing you who their donors are, and Emily Carver responded with incredulity, saying, "Are you trying to imply that the things that I'm saying are paid for?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they are paid for." Like,
yes.
You may not. Yeah. You may have had those opinions to begin with, right? But do you not think that the reason why you have the platform that you do to say those things with such impunity is because of the amount of money that gets pumped into the IEA in the first place, right? If you believed anything else, you would not have the platform that you do, a la, Chomsky Andrew Marr interview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Serious questions that we should be examining as a parliament today, and I hope that we will soon move on to the Chancellor's statement. I think that is what our constituents are concerned and worried about, and not about events at Westminster bubble.
Matt Weston.
Obviously, this is an absolutely legitimate question that's been put forward today. The public wants to know why the Prime Minister sacked her Chancellor after just 38 days. And particularly, given that she was co-architect of the plans, the economic plans, why she herself has not resigned.
Yeah. Leader.
Tomorrow, I think we are having, later in the week, we are having Prime Minister's questions. Members have an opportunity every week to put questions to the Prime Minister.
Who knows?
Mr. Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The pound is falling off a cliff, interest rates are soaring, inflation is rocketing and pensions have been on the verge of collapse. We have a new Chancellor, the de facto Minister, and a Minister who has been reduced to a spectator as MPs plot her removal. The Honourable Lady today, the Leader of the House, defended the Prime Minister today, but can I ask, does she think if she had won the leadership contest, she would have been a better Prime Minister?
Good question.
Leader of the House.
I support the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has
Not what you were
shown
asked.
great courage and duty over the last few days. And she has my admiration and respect for...
Oh, look, it's Jeremy Cunt. I mean Hunt.
Hunt.
No, I mean Cunt.
I definitely mean
for that. The Honourable Lady has various criticisms of her. I would stand our Prime Minister against her First Minister any day of the week.
Charlotte Meadows.
Thank you.
That's the point. Which one's taller?
I don't know.
Just thinking about them standing next to each other.
Interesting.
Those are tall people.
Mr. Speaker, local public service in Warrington has been slashed to pieces over the last 12 years, and we are finding it increasingly difficult to meet the demand for basic statutory services, let alone before inflation is rocketing, pushing costs of delivery up. Any more cuts will mean collapse. The Prime Minister
Who is
spent
this
last
supply
week
teacher?
promising
Why
no
is she in
cuts to public
Parliament?
spending and
Charlotte
boasting
Nichols.
about her 2-year energy price freeze. So does she have any say at all on government economic policy?
I mean, with regards to Charlotte Nichols,
Well, the Honourable Lady can put her questions to...
in that she was one of the anti-Corbyn lot, so I'm immediately distrustful of her. But she was once reprimanded by the press for saying that, you know, in the wake of anti-Semitic attacks around the globe, that people should just punch Nazis. And then the press said, "Will you apologise for this comment?" She was like, "No, I'm right. Screw you." Which I
good.
respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. We are very much pro-Nazi Roblox situations.
100%. In theoretically, in Minecraft, obviously.
Yeah, in Minecraft, in GTA.
to the Chancellor shortly. But what I would point out is that clearly all organisations are facing rising costs. That is in part why we acted so swiftly, and even today we'll be putting through legislation to help with the business and cost of living.
Richard Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has been in office for 6 weeks, but notoriously, even with the rigours of the budget, is yet to find time to call the First Minister of Scotland or the First Minister of Wales. Does the Leader of the House think...
Still, fucking month in? That's ridiculous. Look, could you show any more contempt for the people of Scotland and Wales?
The Minister will remain in office long enough to be able to do so?
I know the Prime Minister takes responsibility.
There she is. Go on, Liz. Fucking nailed it.
She got the cheer she wanted.
Frankenstein has been
The
revived.
Prime Minister takes her responsibilities to working constructively with the other administrations, and she will always do that.
Justin Mathers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure the markets will be reassured to see the Prime Minister is not hiding under a desk, but is here in the House today. She's still got till 10 o'clock tonight to answer questions that have been asked if she wants to reassure the markets and create some stability. But I've got another question for the Leader of the House. I've been drawing in Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday. Can she guarantee that the Prime Minister will bring them?
Leader of the House.
I said that.
Yes.
Christian Mathers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Throwing your Chancellor under the bus in order to save your skin is not a tough decision. Tough decisions are when you make them and then come along, show true leadership and ask people to come with you by inspiring them. This Prime Minister has done none of that. So why should we follow her when she has shown no leadership whatsoever but has hidden away?
Leader of the House.
I think that if you spoke to any member of the Ukrainian Parliament, they would tell you that our Prime Minister has shown leadership.
Surely you shut the fuck up.
I mean, to be fair, the Ukrainian Parliament also want to take away trade union rights.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Urgent business, we are told by the Leader, prevented the Prime Minister from coming to the House. What on earth could have been more urgent than coming to atone for the economic that is wrought on pension holders and mortgage payers across these islands, and especially in Scotland, where the party opposite enjoy no mandate whatsoever. The Prime Minister thanked her former Chancellor for the excellent work that he had done. Can the Leader of the House explain, or maybe now the Prime Minister's turned up, she can the Leader of the House explain, thanked for what?
Leader of the House. The honourable gentleman will know that the Prime Minister has Prime Minister's questions every single week. He can put to her there. There was very good reason, as I have repeatedly explained to the House, why she couldn't be here. You will notice that she is present here now. And I will start listening to the honourable gentleman on democratic mandates when he honours the result of the Scottish referendum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Leader of the House for her answers, but I'm not in the business of point scoring. Does the Leader of the House not agree that the face behind the budget is much less important than what the budget outlines? Is there confidence that the Chancellor can help people stay in work, ensure that funding is suitable for the NHS and government departments cannot take further austerity, so that all of the United Great Britain and Northern Ireland can truly...
Can we nuclear bomb the Vatican City?
Well, the honourable gentleman is held in great affection by all members of this House and is often the phenomenon.
Well, yes and no. Think of the innocent children they got locked up that will also die.
Think of all the innocent little boys. Children.
Exactly. They're choir boys in training, honest. We have to keep them in cages.
At such UQs because he is full of common sense, and I think that what he says is absolutely right, and I hope now we will be able to hear from the Chancellor very shortly.
Point of order.
Is it relevant to the questions?
Point of order. God, archaic nonsense. Basically, if something that happens and you don't like it, you can raise a point of order, and most of the time it's not. On this occasion, I think it actually is justified, but it's mostly a time wasting.
Order. If it's relevant to this, I will take the point of order. Chris Brown.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, you know that for the last hour we've been listening to questions about which were meant to be directed to the Prime Minister. The Leader of the House said repeatedly that the Prime Minister couldn't be here. If there were legitimate reasons, I'm sure every single member of this House would want to hear them. Now that the Prime Minister has arrived, would this not be a perfect opportunity for her to be able to explain why she was not able to be here?
Just to say, and let's just put this to bed, it's not for me, it's for the government to put forward the ministers to respond to urgent questions once granted. And it's not a matter for the chair. The honourable member has put the point on the record, and I know that the Prime Minister is now in her place, but we now come, before I call the Chancellor...
Anyway, you get the idea. Yeah.
Very true.
So that was a fucking shit show.
It really was. It really was.
Absolute nonsense. Do we want to move on to Jeremy Hunt? Jeremy Hunt. No, Jeremy. Okay, let's take a look at him then. Jeremy Hunt, Parliament, I guess. I don't know. I had it lined up on the fucking BBC, but there we go.
Owing to the consequences of Putin's war, prices are rising.
Fucking Simon Clarke. Hate him so much. There was Rachel Reeves, 1 second, so I'm assuming that means Chancellor. There we go.
If it's relevant to this...
We saw Chris Bryan.
If it's relevant to
so that the Prime Minister is now in her place.
I'm baking a pancake like a big bloody bugger. Sorry. That's my northerner impression.
Well, I still like the line. I like to tell the people of the north of England, not every town has to have a cake named after it.
Come, before I call the Chancellor to make his statement.
Just get up and tell us. Go on.
Mr. Bradshaw,
order.
I expect better. I want you to be silent while I read this out. This is very important. Before I call the Chancellor to make his statement, I would like... Does somebody... Yes, and I think so. Today. And I don't want more. Before I call the Chancellor to make his statement, I'd like to point out that the sign language interpretation of proceedings is available to watch on Parliament Live TV. So I now call the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Chancellor.
Mr. Speaker, the central responsibility of any government is to do what is necessary for economic stability. Behind the decisions we take and the issues on which we vote, our job families depend.
They did just focus. Oh fuck! Fuck! I keep pressing the wrong bastard thing. Focus on Liz Truss's face during the course of this.
100%.
Because she's honestly, it's like they fucking stun darted her and dragged her to Parliament. I think because she looks just out.
Also, before we start this,
Mr. Speaker,
I would like to remind viewers that if you are watching on Kevin and or my's channel, you can support us by subscribing to the stream or becoming a member on YouTube or dropping bits or dropping a follow or a like, and also going and following each other's streams. You can do that. That's a thing that you can do if you want.
You can give us money, you dickheads.
Exactly that
is what I would, or hit the follow button and yeah, come and stroke my hair and tell me that everything will be okay.
It's true. Kev has a cute cat. I have nothing, but you know, Kev.
You have nothing. You have everything. Hang on, I do have a cute cat. Where is I? Hang on. There he is. Hello, Rory Cats.
And if that isn't a good reason to subscribe, I don't know what is.
Exactly, $5 a month to feed that little furry beast.
100%.
That's a little
100%.
Speaker, the central
True, it does, Wayward Historian, thank you.
Responsibility of any government is to do what is necessary for economic stability. Behind the decisions we take and the issues on which we vote, our jobs families depend on, mortgages that have to be paid, for pensioners, businesses investing for the future. We are a country that funds our promises and pays debts. And when that is questioned, as it has been, this government will take the difficult decisions necessary to ensure there is trust and confidence in our national finances. That means decisions of eye-watering difficulty.
You speed him to 1.25.
But I give the House and the public this assurance.
What was that, sorry?
We speed him to 1.25 times. He's so slow.
True.
Every single one of those decisions, whether reductions in spending or increases in tax, will be shaped through core, compassionate, conservative values that will prioritise the needs of the most.
I can't believe after 12 years, the most brutal austerity, they're still going to try and push the compassionate conservatism bollocks.
Yeah, from Mr. I wrote a book about how to privatise the NHS.
Yeah, fucking... God, these people.
The health secretary had the fight with the junior doctors.
Yeah. But don't worry, we clapped for them a few years later, so it's okay.
True, it's true. They paid their bills with the claps.
True. Ironically, some of those doctors will have been treating patients with the clap as well. So.
That is why I pay tribute to my predecessors for the energy price guarantee, for the furlough scheme, and indeed...
That is true. He is a James Blunt. Have we had C-bomb slips with Jeremy Hunt yet? Any fresh ones? Because obviously that was a meme back in the day, but
I think there was one on Channel 4.
I haven't heard of it. Was there? Oh, nice, good. I'm glad that meme doesn't die. We're close to a hype train. If you want to make the hype train go choo choo, I will absolutely finger Jeremy Hunt.
The hype train going choo choo like the deselection train. Sorry, that's a bad joke. I mean,
that's an amazing.
It's a joke at the expense of the left wing of the Labour Party, so I feel bad about it, but I just couldn't resist. As bad as it is, it's still technically funny.
Well, look, we'll go into hell and just enjoy the ride.
I mean, true. I mean, again, I'm fully banter timeline pilled at this point. Like the idea of Keith being Prime Minister gives me no joy whatsoever.
Like I said, the banter timeline of if Boris Johnson comes back, he would be the only person who could come back and have any kind of and prove everyone wrong, because everyone said, well, he won't be Prime Minister at the next election, will he? And he will. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, everything's bullshit. The entire world is full of just nonsense.
Yeah.
Indeed, for earlier decisions to protect the NHS, the economic challenge we face. We have had short-term difficulties, we have had short-term difficulties caused by the lack of an OBR forecast alongside the mini-budget. But there are also inflationary and interest pressures around the world. Russia's unforgivable invasion of Ukraine has caused energy and food prices to spike. We cannot control this in the rest of the
Also,
world.
I have a supercut of the Jeremy Cunt moments of old, if you want to show that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me drop it in the. I'm going to drop it in the Discord chat.
Yeah,
If you want to skip to 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
Oh, okay. It's your TikTok, indeed.
I couldn't find exactly because mine is a little bit more streamlined to try and fit it into the kind of TikTok ecosphere. But if you go to 2 minutes 38, the next
2 minutes. What? Sorry.
2 minutes and 38 seconds. Prime Minister.
Where's the scroll bar's right at the bottom. There you go. Okay.
I think we should really introduce this next character with a compilation of people getting his name wrong.
Well, first up after the news, we're going to be talking to Jeremy Cunt.
The Health Secretary, Jeremy Cunt.
Mr. Cunt. The Health Secretary, Jeremy Cunt.
Health Secretary, Jeremy Cunt. The Health Secretary, Jeremy Cunt, isn't it?
The Health Secretary, Jeremy Cunt.
The Health Secretary, Jeremy Cunt.
Jeremy Cunt.
Jeremy Cunt.
That's probably the best way of introducing
Yeah,
him. This was a man
true.
who wrote a book about why we should prime.
His name is Jeremy. Fact.
100%. It is his name.
Yeah.
To change course, we will do so, and that is what I have come to the House to announce today. In my first few days in the job, I've held extensive discussions with the Prime Minister's cabinet colleagues, the Governor of the Bank of England, the OBR, the head of the Debt Management Office, Treasury officials, and many others. The conclusion I've drawn from those conversations is that we need to do more quickly to give certainty to the markets about our fiscal plans. And
what can I just say? Like, it's funny because Tories and fuck 'em, but it's actually a really, really bad precedent that a government can put forward public policy and the markets just go, nope, not allowed to do that.
Don't like it.
And can just force the government not to do it. Like, okay, so who's the actual fucking government here? Some unelected pricks who short selling the pound. Thanks, guys.
Well, the worst part about
it's a really cool, normal, awesome fucking you built there.
Well, the worst part about it is, far be it from me, the economic layperson that I am, to criticise the actions of the Bank of England, right? But I genuinely think that it is economically horrendous for them to be raising interest rates at this time, because obviously their plan is, well, they want to do it to bring down inflation, right? But that would only really bring down inflation if we had a problem with overall aggregate demand, which we don't, right? We have a problem with supply chains. We have a problem with, supply chain constraints because of the war in Ukraine, and because of obviously the supply chain issues because of COVID, right? Grace Blakely was talking about this a lot, with how the supply chains all got backed up because they run on like razor thin margins, right? Because under capitalism, you want to maximize the output and efficiency rather than maximizing the stability. So the stability got completely destroyed during COVID, where docking and trying to transport things around the globe was horrendous because the demand for the goods wasn't there in the first place, and also because there were all these lockdowns in effect as well. So that's why a load of these prices are an issue. It's nothing to do with the fact that there's just too much money flowing around, the economy's running hot or whatever. The inflation is all from outside sources, like exogenous shocks to the actual, the interior of the country's economy. So rising interest rates, as far as I'm concerned, will do nothing. Will do nothing to curb inflation. All that it's done is make inflation worse, because obviously CPI, like people's rents, count towards the CPI. So that means that people's overall budgets are still going to go up because all the mortgage additional costs are just going to get passed down to renters. They're going to get passed down to people. CPI is calculated for homeowners by what it would cost to rent out their house if they were a landlord. It's a really silly way of doing it. Money and Macro has pointed this out on YouTube. So inflation isn't really going to go down by raising interest rates. All those costs can be passed down to consumers as well. So I am not the governor of the Bank of England, and he probably knows more than I do. But where I'm sitting, raising interest rates.
You're not the governor of the Bank of England yet.
I think at time of recording, raising interest rates it's ruinous all it's going to do is make lives working people just horrendously bad, and they should not be doing it. That's one of the reasons why I think that the decision to make them independent was a bad one.
I was about to say, you're supposed to put the independent Bank of England there. because you need to highlight that it's not you making the mistake. So,
I mean, as far as I was aware, the reason why it was made independent was to essentially give people voting Labour the understanding that they would have oversight, right? People are worried that Labour's reckless economic spending, which is obviously nonsense anyway, right? So they said, well, okay, we'll make the Bank of England independent to give people oversight, so they know that they have a higher power who's going to control our economic credentials or whatever. When all that's done is just allow neoliberal economic thought to be the de facto ideology regardless.
Yeah, correct.
Show through action and not just words that the United Kingdom can and always will pay our way in the world.
Except when we threaten not to pay the money that we already owe to the EU in order to hold it hostage. Except when we did that, obviously. Yeah.
Therefore decided to make further changes to the mini-budget immediately, rather than waiting until the mini fiscal plan in 2 weeks' time, in order to reduce unhelpful speculation about those plans. Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful for your agreement.
No, you're doing it because your government is living fucking hand to mouth. Every hour you survive is a success. So you're having to just scramble around doing anything you possibly can to try and plug the holes that are fucking sinking the boat with water. Like, it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
Look, you couldn't even wait to make this statement. He had to go out and make a public fucking announcement on TV about it. He couldn't even wait to the afternoon because we weren't sure that the markets weren't going to fucking crash again.
Well, it's also, I think it's important. I genuinely think the only reason Jeremy Hunt is Chancellor is nothing actually to do with their own public opinion. I actually have nothing, because obviously people don't like him because of all the junior doctor shit. I actually genuinely think that the only reason he's been made Chancellor specifically is to try and win over backbenchers, all of the moderates, like quote-unquote moderates, I guess, on the backbench who hated the libertarian economic principles, just somebody who is perceived to be on the economically competent side of the party, so that Liz Truss can save her own skin. That's the only reason why he's Chancellor specifically.
Yeah, it's absolutely rank opportunism, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I need to give the markets an early brief summary this morning, but I welcome the opportunity to give this House details of those decisions now. We've decided on the following changes to support confidence and stability.
Look how dead-eyed she is.
Firstly, the Prime Minister and I agreed yesterday to reverse almost all the tax measures announced in the growth plan.
It's like, it is. Well, yeah, exactly. Or the face of a sleepy dog. Well, there's nothing really going on there. There's no thoughts. It's just like, I'm in a minute. I really am. Like, it's technically awake, but in spirit, it's asleep.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago that have not been legislated for in Parliament. So we will continue with the abolition of the health and social care levy, changes to stamp duty, the increase in the annual investment allowance to £1 million, and the wider reforms to investment taxes. But we will no longer be proceeding with the cuts to dividend tax rates, saving around £1 billion a year, the reversal of the off-payroll work reforms introduced in 2017 and 2021, saving around £2 billion a year.
But can I just point out, for every time he says saving X amount of money, even if it's true, let's just go with it for a second. That means that was just change the wording. 2 billion that would have been pissed away had this stupid bitch been allowed to actually do the things she wanted to do.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, just when you're listening to it, frame it in that perspective, and it's more true to reality.
Exactly. Yeah. This idiot that I'm here having to fucking mop up the shit that she has created, going to waste billions on this on stuff that it's not there. We would have to have borrowed fuck tons more, or basically gotten rid of all servers, like literally sold the NHS or something.
I mean, yeah.
Fucking hell.
The new free shopping non-UK saving a further £2 billion a year, or the freeze on alcohol duty rates saving around £600 million a year. I will provide further details on how those rates will be uprated.
Just let's just swap this telephone out. Just switch it off. It's off. Okay. Sorry, Chancellor. Carry on.
I will provide further details on how alcohol duty rates will be uprated. Second, the government is currently committed to cutting the basic rate of income tax to 19% in April of 2023. It is a deeply held conservative value, a value that I share, that people should keep more of the money they earn, which is why we have continued with the abolition of the health.
Which is why we have the highest tax rate in 70 years.
It's just incredibly frustrating. Even Jonathan Reynolds, right? I was watching Sunday with Laura Kernsberg on Sunday, was saying that He was saying I don't know why he was making some nonsense neoliberal claim about like the tax burden being so high or whatever in our country because of reckless spending or whatever, or whatever. And it's like just say that the government doesn't have enough revenue sources. That's what your job is. You're a Labour business secretary. Just say that the Exchequer needs more money. If we had an alternative revenue source for the government, like I don't know, a nationalised energy system or a nationalised rail system or a nationalised mail service, which could generate extra revenue for the Exchequer, we wouldn't need such high personal tax rates. Like granted, he made good points about bringing things like capital gains and dividend taxes in line with income taxes, which quite frankly, it's ridiculous that they aren't already, considering the people who pay income taxes are people who do actual fucking work, people who are actually productive in this economy, people who generate the wealth of our civilization, as Mick Lynch put it, and the people who just sit around skimming money off the top are paying less tax than that. Now that is unconscionable, and he obviously is correct in that. But if we were in, that's the reason why Norway can afford the things that it does is because it has a sovereign wealth fund, because Equinor subsidizes huge amounts of money to be able to go to their central bank to be able to actually pay for the goods and services that are provided by the state at point of use. And if we had that, if we, for example, had the North Sea oil that Norway do, which we actually do, but we don't nationalise it, we could have paid for all this stuff ourselves. But, our country's shit and Margaret Thatcher ruined everything.
Well, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Let's kill two birds with one stone and invade and take over Norway.
Based. Let's fucking go. And then we get to take all the hydroelectric energy that we buy off them. We literally buy their hydroelectric energy. We're using undersea cables across the North Sea.
And we can then have Erling Haaland up front with Harry Kane. We'd win a World Cup.
We could indeed do that. That'd be so base.
Fact.
And social care levy. But at a time when markets are asking serious questions about our commitment to sound public finances, we cannot afford a permanent discretionary increase in borrowing worth £6 billion a year. So I've decided that the basic rate of income tax will remain at 20%, and it will do so indefinitely until economic circumstances allow for it to be cut. Taken together with a decision not to cut corporate tax and restorative income tax, the measures I've announced today will raise around £32 billion every year. The third step I'm taking today, Mr. Speaker, is to review the energy price guarantee. That was the biggest single expense in the growth plan and one of the most generous schemes in the world. It's a landmark policy for which I pay tribute to my predecessor, my right honourable friend from Spelthorne, and will support millions of people through a difficult winter, reducing inflation by up to 5%. So I confirm today that the support we are providing between now and April next year will not change. But beyond next April, the Prime Minister and I have reluctantly agreed it would not be responsible to continue exposing the public finances to volatility in international gas prices.
I mean, either the drugs really are starting to kick in, or it's like a Morse code message. She's trying to send to Starmer. Help! They're drugging me. They're keeping me hostage.
I know. What it is it's a Morse code message to the Lib Dems opposite, because she's a sleep agent from the Lib Dems who infiltrated as an entryist to destroy the party from within. That's what she's doing, right? She's secretly been there the whole time as an accelerationist, trying to bring them down from the inside.
Agent Truss is absolutely knocked it out of the park, you got to say.
100%. Well, with regards to what Jeremy Hunt is saying here, though, is that actually, I think he's right. I think he's 100% right in saying, look, we can review the energy price guarantee come April. Right? We don't need to make this ridiculous 2-year commitment when, if gas prices massively drop, if the war suddenly ends, then we can look back into that and see if we can change the policy. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for him to do. Labour were only promising 6 months of support, which is, he's deliberately chosen 7 months of support here, which I think is quite funny. But he's not chosen a windfall tax, obviously, which is what he should be doing. But I don't think it's necessarily a horrendous economic policy to say, look, well, hang on a minute, if gas prices drop, then we don't need to do as much as we're doing right now, and we can calm the markets that way.
True. Oh, that's a fantastic, as John Oliver called her, Margaret Thatcher on glue. Yeah. Basically. Yeah.
Starting today a Treasury-led review into how we support energy bills beyond April next year. The review's objective is to design a new approach that will cost the taxpayer significantly less than planned, whilst ensuring enough support for those in need. Any support for businesses will be targeted to those most affected, and a new approach will better incentivise energy efficiency. There remain, I'm afraid, many difficult decisions to be announced in the medium-term fiscal plan on October the 31st.
Absolute Ethics Dave. Yeah, let's get some love for Ethics Dave in chat. I'm sorry your dog is on its last legs. God bless you.
First, when I confirm that we will publish a credible, transparent, fully costed plan to get debt falling as a share of the economy over the medium term, based on the judgment and economic forecasts of the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility. I'd like to thank the OBR, whose Director Richard Hughes I met this morning, and the Bank of England, whose Governor Andrew Bailey I've now met twice. I fully support the vital independent roles both institutions play, which give markets, the public and the world confidence that our economic plans are credible and rightly hold.
Honestly, no one should blink that much. What the fuck is wrong with her? Like, she's so fucking out of it. She's like, oh, I think my eyes are going to, like, escape my face. I need to blink to keep them in. Like, it's like a compulsive thing.
Yeah, it's very
Your eyes
strange.
aren't dry. You're not in a fucking coal mine.
She can only be on drugs. It's the only reasonable answer.
She didn't go to Parliament because she was having a fucking freak out. She was climbing the walls. They had to fucking harpoon her and fucking kill her with NyQuil or whatever.
Yeah, get down from the rafters.
Fucking Ambien up the arse, you know.
But I also want more independent expert advice as I start my journey as Chancellor.
She's unkept,
So I'm announcing today the
probably.
formation of a new advisory council to do just that. This council will advise the
They
government
call
on
her
economic
Karma.
policy, with 4 names announced: to David Harrison, former Chief of Staff to the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Gert Vlieger from Element Capital,
Sounds
Sushil
foreign.
Wadhwani of the Asset Management,
Sounds foreign.
and Karen Ward of JP Morgan.
Sounds foreign.
Mr. Speaker,
Well, the bankers they gave extra bonuses to.
we remain completely committed to our mission to go for growth. But growth requires confidence and stability, which is why we are taking many difficult decisions starting today. But whilst we do need realism about the challenges ahead, we must never fall into the trap of pessimism. Despite all the adversity and challenge we face, there is enormous potential in this country.
Honestly, she's making me self-conscious about how much I'm blinking. I'm now thinking, am I blinking enough? Am I blinking too much? I don't even know what's happening now.
It's like when
She's inside my head.
It's like when you're lying, right? If you're lying and someone asks you something and then you just sit there in silence for 10 seconds, but then you realise you've sat in silence for 10 seconds, so you immediately like spurt out like 10 sentences in a row to try and compensate for the fact that you were sitting in silence for 10 seconds.
Yeah. Trickle down blinkonomics. Good.
Don't blink.
3 of the world's top 10 universities, the most tech unicorns in Europe, one of the world's great financial centres, incredible strengths in the creative industries, in
Tech
science, research,
unicorn.
engineering, manufacturing and innovation. And all that gives me genuine optimism about our long-term...
Chat, what's a tech unicorn? You dickheads know stuff. What's this? Why am I not? What have I not? I don't know what that is. Did he misspeak, or is that a thing? I don't know.
Prospects for growth. But to achieve that, it is vital we act now to create the stability on which future generations can. The reason the United Kingdom has always succeeded is because at big and difficult moments we have taken tough decisions in the long-term interests of the country and in a way that is consistent with compassionate conservative values. That is what we will do now, and I commend the statement to the House.
I now call the Shadow Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I regularly say now, I welcome the new Chancellor to his place. The 4th in 4 months of chaos and fiasco as his Conservative government spirals down the political plug hole. But the damage has been done. This is a Tory...
Tech Unicorn is a company that raised $1 billion. Is that dollars or pounds? I'm not sure, in value.
Also, like WeWork,
Apparently.
like the people who never went public because they had no assets, but they were just getting extra valuations over and over and over again, and taking the new valuation to the new investor and saying, we're valued at this much because of all the donations we got. Would you like to donate?
In business, a unicorn is a privately held startup company valued at over $1 billion. The term was first published in 2013, coined by venture capitalist Aileen Lee, choosing the mythical animal to represent the statistical rarity of such successful ventures. Apparently, there are only 1,170 of them worldwide.
Blimey.
There you go. Okay, well, we've all learned something there.
crisis made in Downing Street, but ordinary working people are paying the price. All that is left after these humiliating U-turns are higher mortgages for working people and higher bonuses for bankers. And their climb down on energy support begs the question yet again, why won't they extend the windfall tax?
Now, it sounds like she's getting really mentally fast, but that's because we've got her at 1.25 because Jeremy Hunt's like, I don't know, can you get a passive high from sleeping pills? Is that because she sat next to her, it might be rubbing off on him, I'm not sure.
Yes, she's so
On
soporific.
energy producers to help foot the bill. Now, it is good to finally see the Prime Minister in her place, and not, as the Leader of the House had for us earlier, under a desk. But, Mr. Speaker, what is she left with? No authority, no credibility, no plan for growth. It is clear to see. The people who cause the chaos cannot be the people to fix the chaos. They are out of ideas, out of touch, and out of time. Now, the Prime Minister should have spoken to the House today. But we know that she cannot do that with a shred of credibility, given that the survival of this government now depends on mashing to smithereens everything that she stands for. And now
We
she's
stand
attempting to
full
reverse
notes
everything
on
that
this
she
channel.
campaigned on. It is not just impossible, it is absurd.
Oh,
The Prime Minister
here
is
she
barely in
comes.
office and she is certainly
Watch
not
out,
in
boy.
power.
She'll chew you up.
5 days ago, the Prime Minister said at Prime Minister's Questions that there would be, and I quote, absolutely no public spending reductions. But after what we have heard from the Chancellor today, every single public service is again at risk from the Conservatives, from our NHS nurses to our schools to our servicemen and women, with the country paying the price for their incompetence.
What about our services?
The Prime Minister said that she had an energy package for 2 years. Now that's been withdrawn, on the very day it is supposed to be legislated for. The Prime Minister insisted that her Conservative mini-budget would lead the country to the promised land. Instead, it has led to the highest mortgages in 15 years and emergency interventions by the Bank of England to protect pensions. And then on Friday, the unedifying spectacle of the Chancellor being dragged back from the IMF before he could do any more damage to our economy. So she has turned to Chancellor, who finished 8th out of 8 in the leadership contest, winning just 18 votes.
I do genuinely love Angela Rayner's resting bitch face. Like, it
Oh, me
is
too.
impressive. Honestly, if looks could kill, she'd be genocide.
100%. I mean, she's the only person on the front bench who actually like.
Have run out of credibility, and now they are running out of chancellors. The latest of
That's pretty good.
That's true. I mean,
Chancellors.
four chancellors in 4 months, right? I wonder who will happen in November.
Yeah.
office holder has been in the cabinet for 9 of the last 12 years, at the centre of a government responsible for low growth of public services, and him responsible for helping run the NHS.
That is not a
into
tech
the ground.
unicorn, Jim.
He was a big part of austerity season 1, and now he says the cure is austerity season 2.
Electric
and what, Mr.
Boogaloo.
Speaker, was the Chancellor's flagship policy in his own short-lived leadership contest? To reduce corporation tax in a totally manner, not from 25% to 19%. The right honourable gentleman called for it to be lowered to 15%, with not a single explanation of how it was to be paid for. The truth is, had
By
he won
letting
the
poor
contest and
people
implemented
starve.
these policies, we would be in an even worse place than we are now. There is no mandate, there is no authority for any of this. The Conservatives have put a lasting premium
She's
on people's mortgages.
honestly, there's too
Uncosted
much
borrowing has
blinking.
sent interest rates spiralling. Millions of people's mortgage deals will come to an end in the next few months, leaving many families forking out £500 or more a month. People will be paying a Tory mortgage premium for years to come. So how does the Chancellor think ordinary people can possibly afford any more of this Conservative? We've heard no answers today. Now, the Chancellor said that growth requires confidence and stability. I agree. But where does he think the lack of confidence and the lack of stability is from? It didn't come from the sky, Mr. Speaker. It came from the mini-budget 3 weeks ago. And what does it say about our country? That we are watching borrowing costs hour by hour. That's not the sign of a strong G7 economy. It is the exact opposite. Businesses are now saying things are so unstable that they are pausing investment here in Britain. The former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, Charles Bean, has outlined the extraordinary damage that the Conservatives are standing. In his words, we've moved from looking not too dissimilar from the US or Germany to looking more like Italy and Greece. What a mess. And where is the Office for Budget Responsibility forecast? Has this government learnt nothing? Does the Chancellor really expect the country to take everything from him at face value? Last week, the Business Secretary was busy undermining the Office for Budget Responsibility. Today, we have received another massive fiscal statement with no forecast. What has this government got to hide? They should publish the numbers so that we know the true
Prime
state of
Minister.
the public finances after 40 days of this Prime Minister and after 2 years of Conservative governments. Now, today the Chancellor has scaled back help with energy bills for families and pensioners. It begs the question, yet again, why won't they bring in a proper windfall tax on energy producers to help foot the bill for consumers? And when will the current Chancellor publish in full the government's estimates of windfall profits of the energy giants over the next 2 years? Now, no one was talking about spending cuts until the Tories crashed the economy with their mini-budget. So I ask the Chancellor, why should the British people pay the economic price for the Tories' mistakes, and what spending cuts does the government plan to make? We believe that the government must honour its commitments to uprate benefits and pensions in line with inflation. Will the Chancellor make it clear today that that is what he intends to do? And what a contrast, that cuts to benefits are still on the table, but the one thing the Chancellor couldn't bring himself to reverse today was lifting the cap on bankers' bonuses. Why is this the last landing in this disastrous mini-budget? And let me come to credibility. Does the Chancellor accept that once credibility and trust have been destroyed, it cannot be simply regained by a series of zigzagging, chaotic U-turns? Will he and the Prime Minister apologise for the costs and anxieties laid on families? Can he admit once and for all that the market turmoil we are in was directly caused by the disastrous decisions of his predecessor and of the Prime Minister? Can he guarantee that the Bank of England won't have to intervene again to save the government? And what guarantee can he give to people about their pensions, about their mortgages and their households? The Chancellor said today that everything is now on the table. But is that really the case? We know that abolishing the non-dom tax status for £3 billion a year, yet there was no mention of that today. How can it be right that some of the richest individuals in society are allowed to buy their way out of pay that should be paid here in Britain? This would not be an eye-wateringly difficult decision, Mr. Speaker, so why doesn't the government just do it? There is lasting damage, which these policy U-turns won't change. They've set fire to everything. Now they insist it is all fine. The truth is, Mr. Speaker, an arsonist is still an arsonist, even if he runs back into a burning building with a bucket of water. Because they trusted. The Tories are clinging on for themselves regardless of the cost to the country. Trickle-down economics will always fail. What drives forward our economy are the talents and efforts of millions of working people and thousands of ordinary businesses. The government's economic credibility has been destroyed. They have harmed our economic institutions. People are paying higher mortgages. The same set of people doing U-turns isn't going to fix it. The only way to change this is a real change in government.
By deporting more people. Yeah, that's what Richard Rees wants. Extra deportations.
I know. Look, yes, they're all going to pander to racists, but I'm just saying that was a good
take. I mean, it was a good take. I mean, it was a good takedown. I think there's a real strength in the framing of saying, like, obviously they're calling people the anti-growth coalition. So the obvious response is saying, well, no, hang on a minute. Everybody believes in growth. There's no one in this country that doesn't think that the economy shouldn't grow and we shouldn't get extra dividends for the public in general from the extra beneficiaries of that growth, right?
Clearly not true. No, clearly not true. Clearly, the new Chancellor is now the leader of the anti-growth coalition.
I mean, under Liz Truss's framing, obviously, but like if you want to create a political attack line, then you go, well, no, we just believe that the way you create growth is from the bottom up and not from the top down. Clearly, that's the line that you should be going with at this point, and say, look, we'll get plenty more growth if there's more money in people's pockets, less money going to the super rich and more being put into the infrastructure that everybody in this country can benefit from through public investment, right? That's how we'll build growth, I said, through public investment and through extra wages and the pay packet of the working class. Like that's a really good line to go with, because it's also, it also helps that it's true. It also helps that, none of us can consume because none of us have any additional money. None of us have any discretionary income for us to be able to spend, because all of the consumer classes expenditure goes on rent, bills and food, right? We can't afford to go out and spend money on frivolous expenditure, which is actually what drives the economy, right? The reason why startups can get going, right? The reason why new businesses can flourish is because they find a niche in some market where people can consume in a discretionary manner. But no one can do that. No one has any spare money. Like, people always say that the first jobs to go in an economic downturn is sex work, because it's the one thing that is only being spent on as a discretionary thing rather than as something that's a necessity. And we're seeing that now. We saw that in 2008 too. There's some really interesting articles about how during the economic downturn, sex workers were hit really hard. They had to deal with horrendous working conditions and had to take incredibly risky, personal business decisions, which put them at terrible risk, because people didn't, all the old men who would usually frequent them didn't have the spare money anymore, right? So, again, having a consumer class who can't afford to buy shit because all of it's being hoarded by landlords because we don't have proper public infrastructure and state investment into things that people can benefit from at point of use means that our economy can't function.
Yes, indeed. Well, the Libs will be happy. Truss has apologised for making mistakes. So,
Breaking.
yeah.
As of 8 minutes ago.
I do want to accept responsibility and say sorry for the mistakes that have been made. I wanted to act, but to help people with their energy bills and deal with the high tax, it's the same shit.
Mm.
On the question of whether a vision for Britain is dead, she tells BBC political editor Chris Mayton she lacks national interest and remains committed to her vision, but they will have to be delivered in a different way. I.e. by somebody else, I think.
And being the complete opposite of her vision.
Yeah, it will have to be in a different way, as in the opposite of the thing I was trying to do. Yeah, the actual thing that I wanted to do will now not be happening.
I mean, if she could, as long as she, I mean, because she could just say, "Well, I just wanted growth, no matter how," when it's clear the things I tried weren't working, so let's try something else. That could be a line that she could go with, but no, but she's so fundamentally committed to this fucking think tank created nonsense meme ideology that she's staked her claim to. That she's just going to say, well, no, we're just going to do our things now, and then later on we're going to cut taxes, or later on we're going to, do austerity, right? Just kicking the can down the road as if the same thing won't happen then.
But they're such libertarians. That's why they want to make weed a Class A drug along with cocaine and heroin. Good. I mean, that's very, very much libertarian.
Yeah,
super freedoms.
We're all feeling very free. I need to pop to Lou. I'll be right back.
I thank the Honourable Lady for her questions. And I'm sorry that, given the speed at which things moved at the weekend, I haven't had time to sit down with her one-to-one, as would normally be the practice before parliamentary exchanges. Now, I understand the role opposition parties play. I've stood at that dispatch box myself. But behind the rhetoric, and I was listening very carefully, I don't think she disagreed with a single one of the decisions that I announced to Parliament. And that is important for the country and market. No. And I think there is also agreement on the process of policy making. I support the independence of the Bank of England, introduced by Gordon Brown, and I know she supports the independence of the OBR set up by George Osborne. The whole government...
of course the Tory fucking bar tested for coke. Of course it did, because they're all fucking cokeheads. What? You don't want legal weed, Kit? No, I do want legal weed. They want to make it a Class A drug. Did I say something wrong there? The Tories want, or have said that they want, I don't know if they'll actually try it. They want to try and make weed a Class A, which is like the highest rate of drug. And I'm saying that's ridiculous. And at worst, it should be essentially decriminalised, if not legalised. And then the economy man said we need to make cocaine legal. So like Schedule 1 in America, yeah. And the Economist came out and said that we should make cocaine legal, and I thought, yes, let's do a weird fucking media-based like bidding war. I say we give ketamine to children. No, I say we force feed heroin to the homeless. Like, you just go fucking mental with it. Yeah. Of course, bankers want coke legal. True. Fuck it. I mean, I don't know why they want it legalised. They might have to actually pay some tax on that. Might be the only bit of tax they ever do fucking pay.
Supports the independence of those two important institutions. Now, I fully accept, and I don't think I could have been more clear, that we have had to change some decisions made in the last few weeks. But what I reject wholeheartedly, a broader narrative about Conservative economic management. Let me remind her that the UK's unemployment rate is the lowest since 1974.
Not true.
Below France, Italy, Canada, Belgium.
Not true. They eat their fudged numbers. That's not true.
Sweden, Spain, and the Netherlands, and massively lower than 2010. Let me remind her that since 2010, our growth rate has been the third highest in the G7. She may not want to hear this, but these are the economic facts. Our growth rate.
Fuck the G7 and I like a G6. What's up?
Our growth rate since this party
Early
came into power has been higher than
2010s
Germany,
rap
France, Italy and Japan, and
references.
faster than any G7 country this year. Looking to the future, we have the largest technology sector in Europe, more foreign direct investment than anywhere in Europe bar one country. That is a legacy to be proud of. Now, I was listening carefully for some questions about the measures that I announced, but she didn't ask any, and I think she agreed with them. But I will pick her up on one point. She talked about the NHS. Let me tell her, maybe they don't want to listen about the NHS. She talked about the NHS because of the global financial crisis which happened on her part watch. The
leader of the opposition.
Fuck me sideways. Oh, fuck. Where did we even get to? Hang on. Yeah.
School credibility, which I warmly welcome. Can I just tell her this? The true test will be in 2 weeks' time. See whether she supports public spending restraint. I've shown Conservatives can raise taxes. Will she show Labour are willing to restrain spending?
Chair of the Select Committee, Mel Stride.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome my right honourable friend's statement. It was both frank and bold, and it appears, in the very short term at least, to have steadied the markets. One point that my right honourable friend raised at the dispatch box, though was absent from his statement earlier today, was his renewed commitment to our financial institutions, particularly the Bank of England.
Yeah, the elephant in the room. Because we all know, even the Tory Brexiteers know it's been an economic fucking failure. But they always kind of knew it was going to be. It was just, maybe we get some benefits in some other ways. And they haven't happened either. So everyone's just unhappy with how it's played out. But we've all just collectively gone, well, people voted for it, so we had to do it, and now we're just going to have to live with it. We collectively shat up, and now we're just sitting there in shitty, cold pants and acting like that's just a normal thing rather than cleaning it up.
And the Office for Responsibility. He has also now brought forward the Economic Advisory Council, a number of members of which have appeared before the Treasury Select Committee, and I think he has chosen well.
It wasn't even binding. The poo is binding.
In no way the Advisory Council will in any way conflict with the Bank of England or the Office of Budget Responsibility, the FCA, the PRA.
Shitty pants means shitty pants.
Compliment, not
okay?
Against any of those institutions.
A red, white and blue shaft.
The honourable gentleman who has spoken very wisely in recent weeks about the difficulties that we face. I can absolutely give him that assurance. I want, to be frank, to make sure that I'm getting advice from fantastic institutions like the Treasury, the Bank of England and the Office for Budget Responsibility, but also advice that is independent.
Like they definitely wrote on the side of that big red bus, you will have to sit in your crusty, shitty pants forever. It was definitely there. And then some about some money for the NHS or something. But mainly it was the shitty pants. I do hope that No Justice MTG makes this into a clip for the YouTube channel. Because she won't have heard this bit. That'd be a nice surprise. Fun times.
Of those institutions, because that is the way we'll get the belt. Rupert Harrison in particular has almost experience.
What was that, sorry?
I have wireless headphones, Kev.
Oh, did you hear my shitty pants rants?
I mean, it's correct. I mean, you're 100% correct. I was I was cheering you on from the bathroom.
You were cheering for shitty pants in the bathroom.
Absolutely.
Good sentences. Strong.
It all works out well. Strong and stable.
Strong and stable. Well, it's better than weak and watery. So,
of running the Treasury under George Osborne over many years. I think he'll make a very good contribution, as will his colleagues on the Council. And with respect to the markets, he's absolutely right to be cautious about what happens. They go up as well as they go down, and no government can control or should seek to control the markets. What we can do is the things within our power, and that is a commitment, a very firm and clear commitment to fiscal responsibility.
Yeah. Well, no one's saying you control the markets, it's that you're desperately scared of the markets.
You can things you can influence
which is
the markets.
Slightly different.
That's the point,
Yeah.
right? You can always influence the markets, and if you influence them in a way that you treat them so that they don't have any faith in the government, they're obviously going to say, well, no, let's hike up government bonds. We just want to make as much cash as we can before you default on your sovereign debt, which obviously won't happen, right? It's not going to happen with the UK. But you definitely decrease the market's faith in the government when you do something nonsensical like cut taxes and also increase loads of borrowing. Alstrich, thank you for the subscription. I'd also like to talk about we were talking about Brexit previously and how like these people the fiscal responsibility and like I want to talk about trade deficit. I know it's gonna be incredibly boring rather than memey, but obviously the UK has a gigantic trade deficit. Like we import far more than we export. Right? I think it's 50% more. And so let's make sure that we have loads of tariffs on all of the goods that we would otherwise have been importing from our closest trading partner, the biggest trading bloc in the world. That sounds like a really, really good plan for growth, doesn't it, Kev?
No, what sounds like a great plan is to replace that with New Zealand. Look, I hear they've got a dragon with lots of gold. I reckon we steal all of his gold and we'll be fine.
And we'll feed the country with these magic beans.
Look, I say we introduce a tough regime of free market smagonomics. Let's go.
When Liz Truss was International Trade Secretary, didn't she organise a deal with New Zealand where it was so bad for the UK and so good for New Zealand that there was like a news segment about the trade deal that she'd organised with the Kiwis, where they were just like, yeah, we don't know why she did this, but yeah, we're not going to complain.
Yeah.
She gave us all the concessions and we had to give none.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. She literally carried us in there on fucking thrones. It was really hard. I don't know what was going on there.
Person Alison Cooler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, she's gone. Bye.
I see that the Prime Minister has been urgently running off to something else rather than staying to listen.
Because he was starting to wear off. She was starting to see reality, and she was going to start crying again, so she just had to leave. Fucking hell.
Mr. Speaker, when the previous Chancellor came to give his mini-budget 3 long weeks ago, I called it economic chaos. What an understatement that turned out to be. Not have yet been invented to describe the scale of the unmitigated disaster which the Prime Minister and her Chancellors have created in the past 24 days. We're back significantly worse off due to Tory incompetence. And isn't it just as well that in Scotland, the Scottish Government didn't take the advice of Tory MPs to copy and paste the front bench here deletes all? And people will be paying the price for this for many years to come through higher interest and borrowing rates. Will he apologise for this increased cost that his colleagues have inflicted upon people? And he has not been clear at all. Will he confirm the status of the banker's bonus cap? Has it been scrapped or has it not been scrapped? There is little by way of detail from the current Chancellor on doubling down on austerity and what that will mean for people. But the Institute for Government have here that there is no fat left to cut after a long decade for public services, the Tories. So where does the current Chancellor expect to make these cuts, efficiency savings? We know what he means when he says it. We already know the terribleness of austerity because Glasgow Centre for Population Health have attributed 330,000 excess deaths to Tory austerity policies, an unacceptable human cost. Again and again, the Tories bring forward harmful policies they never feel the consequences. And we know that guarantees mean nothing under the Tories either. The so-called energy price guarantee turns out to be worth 6 months, not 2 years, a cliff edge looming next April. National Energy Action have said that many vulnerable people were holding on by their fingertips. Government must be very, very careful it doesn't prize them away. So exactly what will happen for households in April. The scale of increases make almost everybody vulnerable, except perhaps his banker pals. And what will happen to the most vulnerable when inflation soars as a result of the return of spiralling energy costs? The previous Chancellor never got around to telling me what will happen to business energy costs at the end of their 6-month reprieve. So can the current Chancellor tell me what support businesses signing impossibly expensive contracts as we speak can expect? And will this current Chancellor, former Chancellor, commit to operating benefits with the rate of inflation? And we also increase support to those languishing in the asylum system and end the punishing no public funds regime? Will he cancel the benefit cap and scrap the 2-child limit, which is trapping so many children in poverty? Where is his compassion for them? Will he invest in renewables, carbon capture and storage, and a comprehensive energy efficiency and insulation package? And finally, Mr. Speaker, does he understand when looking at broken Britain, the chaos that the Tories have wreaked and the prospect of a bleak Brexit future under both Labour and the Tories, that more and more of Scotland's people are looking at the comprehensive independence prospectus set out by the First Minister today and moving towards the vision of a better, greener, more prosperous Scotland in the heart of Europe where we belong?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to comments with the Honourable Lady. I look forward to working with her closely in the months ahead. I would remind her that this Conservative government is spending £37 billion this year to support people across the United Kingdom with cost of living concerns. That is possible because of difficult economic decisions that the EP have opposed at this stage, and that includes large support for businesses up and down the tree. But the main thing I would say to her, very gently, is not claim to be concerned about the economic turmoil of the last few weeks, when the central policy of the SNP, independence, would leave turmoil for Scotland, not for a few weeks, but for many, many years to come. A new currency, somehow finding a way to trade with the UK internal market, but also the European single market.
Yeah, patronising bullshit. Should we just watch this this Liz Truss clip from the interview, and then
Definitely.
I reckon call it a night?
No problems. That seems fine to me.
Liz Truss will lead party into next election. Yeah, press F to doubt.
I'm sticking around because I was elected to deliver for this country, and that is what I am determined to do.
And will you lead the Conservatives into the next general election?
I will lead the Conservatives into the next general election.
What do we think? Do it? Yes? No?
I mean, again, she's got a year's worth of time before she can get a leadership challenge, according to the 1922 committee rules, right? So, maybe she can. It would seem like electoral suicide for the Tories to do so. I mean, it might be the point at which it gets to 11 months and 30 days before the end of that year's protection period, and then calls a general election herself, and it's just like, you want to get rid of me? Fine, I'll get rid of all of you. Say, look, you want to, you can go ahead and try and remove me as leader of the party, but I'm going to call an election first and put you all out of a job, just to as a last throw of the dice.
But what happens if she gets Boris and just all of her cabinet just leave?
Well, I mean, that's what
her newly appointed cabinet just resign.
And that's why I thought Boris Johnson was going to call an election at the time. Obviously, because he was someone who genuinely was happy to stab all his MPs in the back. He spent his entire life stabbing his own MPs in the back or in the front, Jess Phillips style.
Yeah.
Like, he's spent that entire time doing that. I thought, generally, cabinet had all resigned. They couldn't govern. To us, could be like, yeah, brilliant. Well, I'm not resigning. I'm off to the King, or the Queen at the time, to go and dissolve Parliament. And then either you back me, or we all lose. Simple as that.
Indeed. No, we cannot orchestrate for blame Scotland for wanting to fuck off. Absolutely not. What I can blame you for is having not hit the follow button already. You should do that. You should also go and follow my co-hostess with the co-mostess.
Absolutely.
No Justice MTJ.
Likewise, my followers should also do the same thing. But viewers watching on YouTube, I have tagged Kevin in the stream title. You have no excuse not to go click that link and drop a subscription to his YouTube channel.
Facts.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm not focused on internal debates within the Conservative Party.
But you need to be, don't you? You need to be in order to stay in office.
Yeah, that's such a lie. I'm not interested at all in what my MPs think. Okay, well, that's probably why you're not going to be around very long.
No, exactly.
What are you talking about? Like, that's not the only thing to be interested in, sure. But, like, the idea that a government or statecraft doesn't involve bringing people along with you is absurd. Don't fucking talk it. This is the kind of patronising nonsense I despise about the modern Conservative Party. Maybe it was always this way, but I was not around in the days of, a fucking Campbell Bannerman or whatever, right? It's the red, white and blue Brexit. It's the Brexit means Brexit. It's just blatantly lying to our fucking faces. It drives me mad. Like, I'm not a child. Stop talking to me like I'm a 10-year-old. It's infuriating. Look, I know that you like things that I despise. And if you just advocate for that I despise, we can have a conversation and I'll call you a dickhead and you call me a dickhead. But I won't feel personally slighted and insulted by that. What I do feel insulted about is you taking me for a fucking fool.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's so angering to me. And that's the core of modern conservatism, it seems.
100%. Well, and that is the entire kind of media landscape that facilitated it, right? It's the same media landscape that told us that running a governmental budget was the same as running a household budget. It was the media that told us that we couldn't halt immigration, despite the fact that it would actually, what it actually would do was give us loads of economic growth and actually wouldn't drive down wages, even though we were told that we would. It was the media in coalition with the Conservatives who tried to demonise brown people, and especially Muslims, to try and get us scared about people so that social reactionaries would vote against their best economic interests by supporting an Islamophobic party based off the back of a lie, because obviously we know now because of the Trojan horse scandal. And it was the media the entire time that tried to blame Labour for the global financial crisis, instead of blaming Labour for the housing crisis, which is what you should actually blame. Rather than a global problem, right? A global problem, which is the GFC, Labour are no way to blame for. The housing issue, like the new Labour government built less council homes.
No. I have to just cut in there. Clearly, that's not true. Clearly, it was the Labour Party that got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act in America, which allowed Enron to go through the shitter, and Freddie May and Fannie Mac, or whatever the fuck they were called. That was clearly the government of Tony Blair that did that in America.
Whereas now you have a housing crisis, and no one will blame the new Labour for building fewer council homes than both the John Major, Margaret Thatcher, and Boris Johnson and Theresa May administrations, right? Like in 2004, we built only 150 council houses in the entire fucking country, compared to 1975, where we built 250,000 council homes. Like,
but it's not like we've got more people. Oh no, we've got lots more people. Oh, fuck.
Well, exactly. Well, the thing is that's what the media want to sell us the lie about Labour being blamed for the thing that's actually a blame on Margaret Thatcher's deregulation policies. But they won't blame Tony Blair for the things that are all the neoliberal stuff that they want to convince the Labour Party to become, because it's beneficial to all of their landlord readers and all of their commercial landlords who donate or are shareholders in their huge media portfolios, right?
Imagine
in this country.
Imagine if we had a government that actually took into account what people wanted and needed, rather than just what the rich people want to happen.
Yeah.
Imagine a government that actually gave a fuck about the people of the country. That'd be amazing.
100%.
Let's do that.
Because there are so many salient criticisms of Tony Blair as a prime minister and the policies of the Blair administration, but none of those criticisms will ever happen in earnest, because they would all be criticisms of neoliberalism. And as we all know, the entire British press are ideologically in lockstep with neoliberal precepts, and they always have been and they always will be, especially since 1979.
They won't even blame him for. They won't even criticise him for Iraq, because they also supported that shit.
Well, yeah, because all the military contractors were happy with it.
Yeah.
The important thing is that I've been elected to this position to deliver for the country.
Elected by who? 80,000 like borderline fascists.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's awesome. That seems like a very stable government then. Cool.
Incredibly strong and incredibly
facing
stable.
Very tough times. We simply cannot afford to spend our time talking about the Conservative Party rather than...
We have done nothing but that for the last decade. Brexit has ensured we've done nothing but talk about Tory infighting for 10 fucking years now.
Yeah.
What we need to deliver, and that is my message to my colleagues. I do want to accept responsibility and say sorry for the mistakes that have been made. I wanted to...
Sorry! Ooh, woo. Yeah.
I know you lost your house, but I'm very, very sorry. It's like that bit where in the In-Betweeners, where they accidentally say bus wankers when there's a traffic light up ahead, and he's just in the car going, I'm sorry. That's all it is. If you watch the In-Betweeners.
Bro.
To act, but to help people with their energy bills, to deal with the issue of high taxes, but we went too far and too fast. I've acknowledged that. I've put in place a new Chancellor.
But why? If you did it, why did the Chancellor get fired? You're the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Surely you get fucking fired.
Like, there's always a fall guy, isn't there? All throughout Boris Johnson administration, like it was Allegra Stratton, it was like Oliver Dowden was a fall guy. Matt Hancock was the fall guy. I mean, Matt Hancock was the fall guy a lot. Like, I hate the guy, but the amount of times they wheeled him out to just get bullied by the press for how many people that died, I'm just like, okay, sure, he is at least partially to blame, but can we not lay any of the blame at the feet of Boris Johnson, please?
Because they're all fucking snakes. They all want to get up the slippery pole to the top. They're all prepared to sell themselves out and debase themselves. How many Tory MPs and ministers and fucking all sorts did we have coming out defending Boris Johnson's lies day after day after? No self-debasement was too far for them. Like, do you not have any self-respect? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, to be
They're
fair.
awful. So they're awful guys because there's always people prepared to like do the thing that they need to do to advance their career. They're all garbage.
They're all careerists. I mean, it's exactly the same as what happens on the Labour right as well. It's all the same shit.
Yeah.
It's so depressing. It's so depressing. Yeah, like she does look like she's in therapy. It does look like a therapy session. It's like, are the market traders in the room with us right now, Liz Truss?
It's fucking mad. I can't remember who said it, but it's very wise. Anyone who wants to be a member of the British government should not be allowed to. Because there's something about that wanting power, wanting to grasp onto power, that makes you a very dangerous person that shouldn't be allowed anywhere near power.
100%. I mean, you just have to look at, kind of socialist movements throughout history that have had like cults of personality based around them, and how authoritarian they become, right? And how self-serving.
If you mention Stalin now, I'm going to have to snap back and say he's a bisexual icon. I will not have bad words said about him. A man with a moustache that glorious can murder whoever the hell he likes, okay?
Well, true. We'll have the rebirth with Keir Stalin now, and the Star Map type.
Keir Stalin, yeah. True.
Doing
and
his weird little purge of left Labour MPs.
Yeah, his weird little fucking what's Moscow trials? What would that be in Britain? I don't know. It's very strange. I do hope no one ever clips me saying that weird thing about, because I do that all the time. I call him a bisexual icon because I think it's funny. But I hope no one ever clips that and like tankies get hold of it and like, oh, he's one of us. No.
Absolutely not.
There is always a thing, right? I've noticed this. Whenever you're a leftist content creator, it reaches a point where people, fucking crazy tanky pricks, get hold of like something that was like based and are like, maybe he's one of us. And you have to be like, nope, distance myself from this shit. No.
I mean, it's genuinely scary, like how much of the online leftoid space has become kind of really strangely tanky. And I think a lot of the war in Ukraine has kind of catapulted this a lot because of how much of these people have just fallen for a lot of Russian disinformation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
the
Kremlin have historically been incredibly good at changing people's opinions through misinformation. Like we all remember what was the Adam Curtis bit about the Putin's media director used to sow discontent by playing both sides of the coin, right? And so much
he largely would fund communists and fascists, and he was very strange
to create political instability, so that to make people want the strongman, right?
Exactly, yeah. To sow so much discontent that you'll turn around, and looked brilliantly. You've got to say, on a purely Machiavellian level, it was genius. But yeah, what was the point I was going to make? Fuck.
Tankies. Tankies in the online leftist space.
Yeah, totally. I've gone. Totally.
I just generally think that the left in general is going to be, we're going to find it very difficult because we're going to be so splintered because so many people are going to be talking about, Putin base, what is it, what they will talk about with regards to the war in Ukraine, something like a multipolar world. I don't know.
Multipolar world, yeah, instead of the unipolar world because of So they're all like it's like a weird Cold War hangover thing, but yeah, it's also a fertile ground in the sense that there's an inclination towards anti-war and a fundamental mistrust of America, and both of those things are generally will lead you in the right direction. But on this occasion, leads to a breeding ground where there's a susceptibility to wanting to believe that actually it's the CIA that's doing the thing in Ukraine, and that's what's causing the war. Yeah,
exactly, 100%. Like. It's like you can apply material analysis if you want and just say the continuing existence of NATO is something that doesn't help bring down overall kind of global tensions, right? Like I get that perspective, but it takes Vladimir Putin saying that he wants to go to war. So it doesn't matter what the actual kind of material conditions that led to that, you still have to blame Putin for pressing the yes to war button on his desk, right? Like at the end of the day, I have plenty of criticisms of NATO, and I think people are trying too hard to try and make the square peg of Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine fit the round hole of NATO is bad, right? You can believe that both. You can, and they because they believe essentially they have such a one-track kind of like a low IQ brain where there's only a binary option of NATO bad or Putin bad, rather than just saying, well, you don't have to kind of smuggle in this kind of this pro-Putin rhetoric to try and justify your dislike of what NATO has done in Libya or what they've done to socialist movements. Like, NATO literally funded Giorgia Meloni in Italy. I have huge amounts of criticisms, but that doesn't, just because Putin is you need to agree on solutions, not agree on problems, right? And that's why people like tankoids end up getting in with the far right, because they agree with problems, but instead of the solution being dictatorship of the proletariat, workers' control of the means of production and removal of the bourgeoisie, it then becomes just ally with anybody who's anti the liberals, right? It's this kind of brain poison where their only political position becomes liberals are always bad, so you attack them from both sides, which it's nonsense ideology.
Indeed.
With new strategy to restore economic stability, and now what I'm focused on is delivering for the public.
Well, that was a waste of fucking time. Liz Truss, everything she says is shite.
Yeah.
So, on that bombshell, what?
Oh, Kev's gone. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Connected from the call. Are we back? Ooh.
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. I meant to just stop sharing my screen, and I pressed the fucking disconnect. Yes. So, wow. The British government's a clown show.
Yeah, it really is a clown show. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to give yourself a cheeky little shout out, and I'll let you go?
Yes, absolutely. I'm at NoJusticeMTG on all platforms. You can even now search on YouTube for my hashtag, well, for my channel tag, which is at NoJusticeMTG. So you can around to search through a bunch of random other stuff. You can now find me directly on YouTube using that tag, which is also the same on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So go and follow all my stuff there, where I do and say things, and I cover British politics almost exclusively. If you want to do that. And also, Kev, do you want to shout out? So I have 14 viewers now, so you actually have people to have an audience of which you can shout yourself out to.
Well, yeah, I am Kevin Logan. You can find me at KFLogan1875 on Twitch, Kevin Logan on all the other various platforms, and there. And thank you everyone for listening. And until we meet again, peace out.
Bye.
Bye.